It says we're going live, but YouTube is stuck. Okay, there we go. And we're live for another episode of Audiophiles Anonymous. We see Tyler there holding up a
hi.
ZMF sticker. It's nice.
Okay.
It says we're going so live. We got a bit of a fun announcement right now, and it's to introduce our wonderful new IEM reviewer, Theo. That's
nice to meet everyone.
Other person here, and many of you guys know him on Discord as Precog Vision, or if you've seen the articles on headphones.com, many of them are written by Precog. So he'll be doing more of those, and he'll be joining the show a little bit more regularly as well.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, welcome. I figure we have some topics, but I think we can also do a lot more Q&A this time.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we first get to know Theo a little bit here and ask, because I wanted to ask him, how have you approached this hobby? I mean, what got you into it in the first place? And what's sort of your background in, I guess, audio and IEMs and stuff like that?
Okay, yeah, sure. Honestly, I mostly got into it because of truly wireless buds, because as a college student, I used to hit the gym a lot. Now I don't, honestly, because pandemic and everything. But yeah, I used to hit the gym a lot, and after a while, I found myself sort of wondering, how can I get more out of my time at the gym? Out of what I'm listening to, and then it sort of just branched out from there into IEMs. And then the thing is, when I get into a hobby, I've noticed that there's sort of a building up point, sort of in this case it would be mid Phi,
right?
And I kind of wanted to skip past that, and I just went right off into the deep end, into the high end stuff, and then from there it's just been it just keeps building up on that, and I've just been trying to get my hands on all the top tier stuff and stuff like that.
What was your first intro to the high end?
The U12T.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Skipping everything.
yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And now you've since had a chance to try a lot of other stuff that actually you've tried stuff that a lot of people haven't had a chance to try. So that's really cool.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I've tried to get on those Headphone tours too, with the planars and stuff like that. So
I just recently finished putting together my review of the Unique Melody MEST.
Oh yeah, that is getting a lot of hype right now.
It's interesting.
It's the best.
The best. The MEST
conductor, right?
The MEST is the best. So actually, Tyler has one.
Yeah.
We might as well
I left it in my
talk about. It's okay. I think it's the coolest looking IEM ever. It just looks with that kind of it's almost like the carbon fiber kind of thing with a little blue chip kind of thing in it. It's really cool.
Yeah, mine's a red one. I wish it was purple.
Oh really? Okay. But actually, I mean, on the subject of the technical stuff with that, so I'm about to release my review, so I don't want to spoil too much about it. But the bone conduction driver, in my opinion, is odd because in my mind, I don't know if that's solving something for them, because where the bone conduction driver is supposed to be, well, first of all, a bone conduction driver that goes in your ear in some ways defeats the purpose of a bone conduction driver, right? But because that's what they use for hearing aids and stuff like that, and it doesn't go in your ear, it goes sort of around, right? And for the same reason that you can use if you take a tuning fork, hit the tuning fork and put it on your teeth, you can actually hear that. That's because there's some form of that kind of conduction going on to your ears. And similarly, if you're just speaking, your voice sounds different to you in your head than it does, if you're on the other side of that. So that on its own is odd that they're putting that in IEMs, because they go in your ear. But then also I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I kind of think that the upper mids is the weakest part of the Unique Melody MEST. That's just for my taste and whatnot. But what I wonder is them putting the bone conduction driver into that IEM, did it make it so that it has the detail that it does? And that's something I'd love to sort of talk to them about and ask them, because it's pretty exciting to see these new technologies in IEMs, and they're doing a lot of stuff with customs, and I know they also have like the mini MEST and other stuff, like to kind of round out the lineup. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I want to get back to Theo here. What's was there an IEM that you tried, like apart from the U12T, which I imagine was like your let's say big boy introduction to the high end?
Yeah, for sure.
Was there anything else that you've tried that made you go, whoa, this is something I really want to continue to do, or get into more?
As in headphones, or
IEMs or headphones or anything like that? Like, is there anything that you've tried that jumps out at you as like something that you think, apart from the U12T, because like that's such an easy one to recommend?
Yeah. I think definitely that would be the ER2 XR from Etymotic. That one really blew me away, because it's like it often goes for sale for like $100, and just if you can get past the fit on that thing, the sound quality is it's superb for anything in that price range.
Yeah,
to the point of which it's not really even fair, I think.
Have you heard the Blessing 2 yet?
Yeah, I own the Blessing 2 actually.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, it is. The Blessing 2 it's definitely a very good IM in the sense that it's been tuned very well, and I think it also has the technical chops. It just doesn't really suit my preferences as much as some of the other IMs I've tried. I own the Blessing 1 as well, and it's definitely a step over the Blessing 1, but just not exactly to my preferences, I think. But I admit it is a very good IM for what it is.
Yeah.
It's like the benchmark there as well.
Did you? Okay, so I've had I've had conversations with other people who've heard the Blessing 2, and some people say they do hear that slight like treble,
the 6K hertz peak.
Yeah, do you hear it?
Yeah, just maybe a tiny bit. I don't know if I'm as sensitive to it as some of you guys might be, because I know you mentioned it, and then I think Corinne mentioned it too, but I honestly don't hear it a lot in practice, I think.
Yeah, like for me it was like only on some recordings. Like it was most recordings it was totally fine, and then very occasionally it was in there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think it would depend on the person as well. But
yeah,
definitely. In any case, we're psyched to have Theo on the review team, so we're looking forward to more of his articles, and if anybody wants to check them out, they'll be I'll link them in the description afterwards, but they're already up on headphones.com. So yeah, that's a big welcome to Theo.
Thanks.
Who also does EDC stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and actually he's got a YouTube channel as well. So he's got and he's done. I think he's also got a blog site too. So we've kind of brought him over from that. So yeah, but we have some topics here that we might as well get into now. The first one, well, the main one we wanted to go through another guessing game here, because those are always fun to do. But we want to have this one be about guessing what each of the other participants here would the other audiophiles here would buy at a given price point. So I don't know, Tyler, do you want to take a stab at this?
For one, do you want to? How do you want to do? You want to do the guessing game style? Or do you want to just go through it? Okay, guessing game style. So we'll say, ooh, that's tough. How about we limit the tiers of pricing so that it makes it easier for let's establish some rules here. Like, what's the pricing tiers? Let's go. Like, what do you think? Pick 5 pricing, maybe max, or do you want to do 3?
Well, I was just gonna say, okay, so like let's start with like the under $500 tier.
Okay, I was gonna say like 500, 1,000 to 2,000, maybe. Or do you want to go up to 3,000?
Let's just do 3. Let's do 5,000 under 500, under 5,000, under 500, under under 500, under 1,500. And then under, whatever.
Under 15, and then under 3,000. That works. 5, 15, and 3.
Sure.
And then
or Summit. We could also talk about under $10,000.
5, 15, 100.
$1 million. Oh wait.
Right, so under 500. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Let's guess.
Let's do. Well, that's gonna be tough. We
lost it.
We put him on the spot, and then he's like, "Nah."
Hopefully we'll get.
Oh, you gotta move him back in.
Yeah, I gotta move him back in. One second. Whoops, wrong thing. But yeah, so let's go with the
under 500 first.
Under 500. Who do we want to start the game with? Let's
start with Chrono.
Under 500.
I'm gonna guess.
That was too easy.
I'm gonna guess. Okay, and I'm gonna guess HD600 for him.
I was gonna say 600 or 650, but I'm gonna go Bayer Dynamic DT.
Oh my god.
880.
Oh,
600 ohm.
That'd be interesting.
Pre-Sal's got it right.
Theo.
It's the HD600.
Yeah. Oh, that was boring. Okay.
Well, you guys, I mean, it's not really a guess because you guys know it's the one headphone I bought.
That's true. Yeah, he did buy it.
Yeah, that's actually
okay.
One I bought.
See. This is the thing. I want to maybe we don't know enough about Theo yet.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
I don't know enough about you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
hold up, I don't know enough IEMs. I'm gonna have to look up a list right now.
Well, actually, I was gonna ask Theo, do you get into over-ear headphones at all, or is it like strictly IEMs for like?
Dude, I own one headphone. It's the HD6XX, and that's just for reference purposes, you know.
Fair enough.
I choose HD6XX for.
That's cheating. I'm gonna ask it. We also know for the IEMs
in the mix.
Yeah, BL2.
Hold up, I'm setting up the price ranges. I'm narrowing down so I can see the list.
Well, we're gonna go with under 500 for IEMs though. Under 500 for IEMs is tough because I mean that's the thing. Like, well, he mentioned the ER2, but like you could also do an ER4,
so many, like,
and you could do a blessing too. Yeah, there's actually, have you heard the new DK3001 Pro?
Yeah, I have. I honestly was not a big fan of it. I don't like how it rolls off in the highs. Like, it just feels really like, I don't know. But it's not a bad IM at all, honestly. It really is not. It's tuned well. So
I definitely thought the Blessing 2 was better. Like, tonal balance was better.
Yeah.
But it's just one I keep recommending for people who have fit issues with the Blessing 2.
Yeah, you can't pick the Blessing 2. It's another solid hybrid, in my opinion. So
yeah. I'm gonna say ER4 XR.
Well played.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Grado GR10E.
Yes.
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah.
I have one here somewhere, actually. I think.
Focal Spark.
What? That's a thing? What is that?
That's Focal's IEM.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. You didn't know?
I need to look this up. Oh my god, it's true.
I didn't even know they had an IM.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's wireless. That's
Bluetooth.
Pretty interesting.
I
have no idea.
Things were learned today, people. Things were learned.
Titien says DK3001 Pro best under 500 for IEMs. Well, I think. I mean, yeah. I won't spoil anything for that. But Tyler, what's your guess? Oh yeah, your guess was Focal Spark.
Like meme guesses.
He didn't even know what it was.
Bro, what do you mean meme? Dude, are you disrespecting the Grado? What's it called? Hold up, let me look up the name again. GR10E earphones.
Let me look it up again.
Yes, that's the strangest.
I mean, even under 500.
Yeah. They're $399.
Oh,
those are $399. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're $399.
Yikes.
Oof. It's tough, with maybe if you specifically want that really small form factor, but it's tough these days in that price range because it's really competitive.
Brother Andrew's in the house.
Oh hey.
Oh.
Everybody be quiet. All right. We've given our guesses.
All right. Yeah, my favorite is actually the Moondrop KXXS, or I guess the Moondrop Starfield.
Really?
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that. That's interesting.
Yeah. This is like one of the first ones that I picked up, and like something about it just really stuck with me as I like kept putting more hours on it. So
cool. I mean, I like it too. I actually have both the Starfield and the KXXX here, and actually, maybe you can shine a light on like the differences between those, because when you measure the KXXX, it measures exactly the same as the Starfield, like perfectly matched.
I wouldn't be surprised because they're literally using like aren't they using the same shells for them too?
Yeah,
they're
like
recycling them.
From my
basically.
understanding, the only difference is the diaphragm material.
Yeah,
Like the coating or whatever. Like one is the carbon nanotubes in the Starfield, and I think there's something else going on with the KXXX.
That's
but like
the drop one, right? The black
yeah,
one?
but that one's supposed to be the KXXS, like identical with the KXXS.
Oh,
Which
okay.
this was interesting because I think on when Kryn did his like overview of those, he gave the KXXX or KXXS a lower score than the Starfield.
Wait,
but
I thought he gave them identical ones.
Well, that's I don't remember exactly. I'd have to, or maybe he like updated it. But I saw one was like lower score.
Oh, that was the Canas Pro, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was the Canas Pro, but it was more expensive, right? So then, they kind of like came out with stuff that like undercut in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
and
to me,
2 does that too.
Yeah, in a lot of ways,
basically. So.
Yeah, I haven't heard the S8 is like pure BAs though, right?
Yeah, 8BA.
Yeah. Hybrids are kind of doing that, I think, these days. But I mean, to my ear, I like the KXXX better than the Starfield, which is interesting. Yeah. Because we can get into another conversation about this, but like for me, the Starfield's limitation for detail is in the treble, like the upper treble.
Okay. Yeah.
And the KXXX, I feel like doesn't have that limitation, and this is why it's so interesting to me because they measure perfectly identical to one another, but for some reason I hear a difference in terms of like detail and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So this is one that requires investigation.
Yeah.
For why they sound different to one another. But in any case, I've derailed us long enough. Let's go with Tyler.
Yes.
I'm gonna guess for Tyler under 500. There aren't any ZMFs under 500, so I can't.
Not yet.
Makes
it a little tougher, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I even have anything under 500 currently.
Is that a flex?
No, I'm trying to like think of like what I. Oh no, I have. I know it is. Okay, yeah, I'm good. I have it.
I'm just wondering if it's an IEM or an over.
Oh, we could do IEM. No, I'm not an IEM guy.
I've never heard an IEM. I'm sorry.
Wow.
But I'm very curious about the Starfield because it looks so pretty.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna say under 500. Man, I'm gonna say Sennheiser HD600.
Wow, I get it.
Yeah.
This one's actually really tough. I'm trying to think.
Man, are we saying stuff that's like current pricing or release pricing? There's also that factor.
That's like, what would you buy now?
Yeah, it's right now. Yeah. Okay.
What would you buy now under $500? What would Tyler buy now under $500? Man, I'm trying to think real hard.
He would buy something completely not related to headphones.
Probably true.
If he had $500, it would be like a new lens for his camera or something.
Oh, the app Oppo Anno PM50. What's it called?
Actually, has he heard it? I don't think he's heard it.
I think I've heard that. No, I have no. This was at a meetup. Did we hear it at? Was it at the Christmas meetup? It wasn't there, right?
No. I don't think it was released then.
No, you're right. It wasn't released yet. Who has that right now? Someone has that right now. I can't think.
Oh, I have it. It's right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't heard it then.
Oh, I should have revised mine because. But I don't know if we can talk about it because it's a bit controversial. But I have to revise mine to the Virum 1.
Oh Jesus.
No.
Let's not talk about that.
But we can't talk about that because we can't endorse that headphone. Nobody should be buying those. But yeah, Chrono, guess.
The Elegia, the price cut Elegia.
Smart.
Is Theo gonna try? Is he gonna we gonna get an attempt?
I know nothing about headphones, so. What about that? Wait, no. Tyler likes expensive stuff. I don't think he'd like that Hi-Fi Man, whatever it was, the Sundar or something.
Yeah, he hates Hi-Fi Man.
Yeah, I got that impression as well.
Hate it. It's just not my thing. But it is a meme that I hate Hi-Fi Man. That is true.
Yeah.
Sundar, that's actually a good choice. Actually, I actually, Chrono got it actually.
Oh wow.
Yip yip
That's-
hooray.
That's yeah, that's, I mean, I guess that's why you asked about, current pricing and stuff like that. So sort of gave that one away a little bit.
Got a little bit. I had to think about like what do I
Pretty
yeah,
smart.
Yeah, because I was trying to think, or if like the other thing I would probably try to get would be the HD600 would be another one. I think those are all fantastic, like ones I really like. I try to think there's not really much that's that's kind of that weird thing. Once you go to a certain, like once you hear something, it's hard to unhear it kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, I do think though that, I mean, this is something I was talking about in that stream we did recently with Kryn, where we were talking about like normalization, getting used to it and that kind of stuff, and I think there's an element of that when you listen to stuff that's like really high end, and then you go and then like there's a risk that if you listen only to the high end stuff, that like the lower end stuff
starts to lose its appeal a little bit.
Yeah. Like it starts being a little more
like
difficult
Rush.
to like you just, it's sort of like, well, the detail differences aren't that significant because they're like, if you're comparing like a bunch of stuff at around the $300 price mark, and it's like is any of it really that good?
But I was actually going to
which
say,
is unfair.
It is unfair. It's very, but I would actually say another one that's controversial I would pick, honestly, and I really love it. I want to get another set here eventually, would be the HD700. I know that's super controversial and people don't like it.
Well, you could mod it and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Change the pads around, and
because that's what I did with mine. I had the felt on the inside, then I had the Coney pads, and I love that thing, man. That thing was awesome for what it was. I mean, it was wonky. It definitely, once you hear the wonk and understand what the wonk is,
once you hear the wonk,
it's like, okay, I see. But initially, before I even, like, as a new person to the hobby or whatever, I was one of the bigger ones I bought, and I not knowing better, or not understand what I'm hearing. But yeah,
like
one thing. Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh.
I was gonna say, with the HD700, it's like I've talked to a lot of people who bought that headphone, and pointed out that, okay, yeah, it's controversial, and here's why, and it doesn't measure that well, etc. And the response that I've gotten is, well, I don't really care. I'm not even, and like to me, it doesn't matter. I don't like. I'm not gonna scrutinize it or anything like that. So I think there's a lot of people who, if they just like heard it without looking at the measurements or any of that kind of stuff, they probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's HD820 is another controversial one that I let a bunch of people listen in an office. Like I had like a little demo, and I had like a bunch of people in the office, and they were like blown, the best thing I've ever heard ever, and like so I mean,
they MKBHD'd it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm actually wearing the HD820 right now as we speak. But no, what I was gonna say is that one thing I have against high-end headphones, I don't know why their FR is always kind of wacky. Like it's just
compared to like lower end stuff that nails it, like the Sundara.
Yeah, like the Sundara, the
HD600.
Yeah, like it's like, why is it so wacky? Like, it's like,
why FR doesn't matter that much, my man.
In the $1,000 price range, like I think there's only two headphones that I sincerely think like I would listen to without some form of really big EQ.
That's another topic for another day, I think. But I think that's definitely something that's controversial in my idea, like in the sense of FR. Sometimes the top end stuff is they're focusing. Then you're looking at like Ferraris versus a Honda. Like, yeah, Honda works great, does exactly what you want it to do.
Better gas mileage, and
everything. But then
I drive a Honda.
I mean, I've had Hondas. I mean, we have a Honda right now. But it's. I think that you run into that syndrome of like, or you can get a Porsche that doesn't fit a car seat in the back. It has two people, but
it's not very practical.
Not very practical, but it's fun and it freaking sounds good and gives you, like when you're driving around. So
it's one of those things, eh?
Yeah, like it's, I think that's, you can kind of compare it that way too. Like where I think sometimes it's more about the experience than it is the actual day to day. You know what I mean? If that makes
I do think there's the like technical barrier to entry. So like if you produce something that is at least a certain amount of detail or technicalities, regardless of its frequency response and tonal balance, you gain entry into, these higher tiers, right? And
so the performance is really, and it's starting to,
but then there's situations like the HD820 where, or not just that, but like there's lots of situations. I've even in the higher end stuff as well. Like there's situations where it's like, if it's at a certain price, it should at the very least have a generally agreeable tonal balance, right? Like it can have a flavor, it can be one way or another, but like this is kind of like what Kryn was saying the other day, where
Yeah,
it's
there's like a certain level of expectations when you get to that price point.
It should be like within the tolerances, right? And there are some that aren't. Like there's a lot that are, I think, like, you know, the Focal stuff is generally within the tolerances, and the actually the ZMF stuff is also, I think, generally within the tolerances. Like for all of them. Like maybe the Verite is the most flavored one, but like, you know, the Auteur, the Icon, the Aeolus, like that's all high end. That it's one of those where like I can totally see people not really being all that inclined to EQ them. So
no, I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying quite a few.
Quite a few.
Quite a few.
But you've also tried a lot of those like Odysseys and the stuff that's like that's. I've noticed it more with planars almost than dynamic driver headphones.
Yeah.
But sorry, we've gotten off track.
It's a
massive. Which price range? Which price range?
We're still at 500. We're guessing. Our boy resolves.
I'm gonna go fast. Sundara.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sundara.
Yeah.
The god Sundara. He always calls it the god Sundara.
Yeah, it would definitely be the Sundara.
So if I'm the hi-fi man hate, then he is the hi-fi man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
No, but like
as I'm wearing Odyssey LCD XCs right now. Actually, okay, there is something else under $500 that I think may compete with the Sundara, depending on, because if you want a closed back headphone, right, it's tough to find closed back headphones that are any good, just in general. But you know, there are good closed back headphones, I think, but it's not really a fair comparison with open back ones. So if my requirement was like closed back, the Odyssey Mobius is fantastic under $500. And
the new one, the Penrose, right? Or the
there's all the different versions of
one
that, right?
HD.
It's the Orbit. There's the Penrose and the you mean the LCD one?
LCD one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And maybe they'll do a close back there, so that could shake up that $500 price range. Also, the DCA Aeon RT is interesting because
the retuned version.
Is interesting.
One.
Yeah, and that I think is right around $500 as well. I haven't heard it, so I can't really comment. But yes,
I wonder if it's the same as the Mass Drop version.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they were both made after the original Flow series.
Yeah.
But interesting. But they also did a closeback retune.
That's right. Yeah, I think. But regardless, you guys all got it right. It was the Sundara. So, like if it's like open or closed, the Sundara for sure. All right, let's go up to under $1,500. Yeah, let's start with Chrono again.
That's easy. I already know this one.
Do you? Do you really?
I think so. I really do.
I'm going to guess the Odyssey LCD X.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has to be an Odyssey of some sort.
Because the focals don't fit him.
Because focals don't fit him.
My god!
And he breaks HD800s. So
wait, the HD800 is actually at $1,700.
That's right.
But you can get the HD800.
The non-S, you could get in theory.
But I would
say
but
it has to be matte black. Remember, it's a rule of thumb for me. Matte black or not or bust.
I paint it, dude. You get some nail polish.
Yeah, true. Just a little nail polish.
Little Sharpie action.
Facts.
I would say based on recent events and everything else like that, I would think the LCDX too. But I'm gonna say I would say for just pure music enjoyment, I think the clear. I will say the clear, Focal clear.
For the brief moment that
it fit his head, or didn't it fit his head? Just the
you mean when I'm holding the cups in place?
He's got somebody there holding the cups in position on his head.
He just pops them off and just holds them himself.
Like all his old school earpieces for fucking phone.
Oh yeah, so when he says the Aria is $1,600, so but that's
the Aria is pretty good. Should we make the $1,500 bracket $2,000? Because a lot of the stuff there's pretty close.
Sure.
Well, there's under $3,000 too, but I guess
because actually the clear isn't the clear $1,600.
You're right. It is.
Oh, you're
okay.
Right.
So let's say okay, like under like that $1,000 to $2,000 range. Let's say.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'd say the Aria then. Not that I've heard it, but I would think that.
Has Chrono heard it?
Oh, yeah, Chrono has not heard it, huh?
No, not yet, actually.
Oh, that's tough. The Headphone.
I say HD800S before he breaks it.
Oh, that's actually fair for the brief songs.
Is
He's
Theo gonna guess?
I'm gonna refrain from guessing here just because I have no background whatsoever on your guys' preferences.
And Chrono doesn't like IEMs, so that doesn't really.
No. Like, it hurts my ear. It hurts my ear. That's why I've been afraid to try them, because I'd be like, so the headphones don't fit my head, and IEMs hurt my ears. So it's like, what do I wear?
Just get into speakers, man.
Oh no, I don't have the space for that, man.
We should hook him up with some ER2. Well, Etymotic, doesn't matter which one, just to see how that does for fit with the ear violators.
A learning curve with that stuff.
You know, I think if they fit properly, I think Tyler would be correct. Yeah, I think the clear. I
over
really
the HD800S, really
over the HD800S because
you don't break them.
Oh my. I think you might have to move me back into this call in a bit, Tyler.
No, but why? What's your justification?
I think it's a very enjoyable headphone. Like after EQ, nice warm tonality, especially the dynamics. That's what gets me, because the HD800 just doesn't have that, and I mean neither does the H20. It's just like the dynamics. It's very fun. It's engaging to listen to. Really good bass. Pretty fast for a dynamic driver.
Do you find, Chrono, that like over time the things that you like really value in a headphone change? Like, for example, like for me, it was like I didn't care about dynamics that much, and then I started hearing those differences more strongly, and I went, oh man, now I really like am addicted to that dynamics thing. And if something doesn't have it, then I feel disappointed, or I feel like, it's not as good.
Your goalpost shifting kind of thing
on yourself.
On yourself. Yeah, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, not in a bad way.
I used to be like into the whole soundstage imaging thing, and over time that's kind of been like less for me. And I think the dynamics definitely have gone up in value. Just raw FR, the less EQ I have to use, the better. I mean, I'm pretty open to EQ, as everybody knows. So, but it's the less the better. And also, comfort is becoming a really big one for me.
Comfort is key, man. Comfort is
that's number one.
Yeah,
actually, like, if it doesn't even fit you, like.
On that subject,
I mean, that's very true. If it doesn't fit, what's the point, right?
What's your take on the LCD X so far?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, what's your take?
You mean like what aspect of it?
3 words, go.
You can do more than 3 words.
Yes. 3 words. Mids are borked. That's all I'll say for it.
Well played. Well played.
It's heavy, but I'm always surprised by how well that new suspension headband that they use actually distributes.
You think that one's heavy, man?
You know what's weird about the LCD-X is it's not as heavy as like the headphone, but like it was heavier to me for whatever reason. I don't know what it was about the LCD-X, but it was like it felt like it was pulling me down for some reason.
I'm gonna say that it feels dense. It feels very dense, but I don't feel like it's uncomfortable. While being
it wasn't uncomfortable on my head per se. It just felt like I was being pulled down. It was weird.
It's kind of like having a helmet on, like one of those baseball helmets.
And when you move your head around, it like carries your weight or the weight.
That's with these things like readily available. Like that's.
Yeah, actually, with the LCD-X though, like for detail, Chrono, and like technicalities, like what's your take on that?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's actually I owned an LCD2 before, and I actually think that the LCD-X is definitely a little bit ahead. I think it's clearer sounding than the clear.
Yeah.
Why did I just use clear twice in the same sentence?
Compared to HD800S.
I don't know. To me, the HD800S still sounds a little cleaner, at least in the mids. The bass is what gets me on the HD800S. It doesn't sound clean at all. That's the problem for me. That's why I can't fully get into it, because I love the mids, love the highs.
You need the tubes.
The tubes.
HD800.
It's also just the lack of like the bass is all, from what I understand at least, about that driver, because that came out after people were doing like the SDR mod and stuff like that to like change.
It has the little plastic SDR in it.
I don't know if that's exactly the way that they tuned it.
No, but they have a similar.
But I think they took they took that what people ended up with for that tuning into consideration. So it reduced the 6 kHz peak, and then it boosted the bass with the S version. But the thing is, with the bass boost that it got, that was mostly second harmonic. So like it wasn't the cleanest bass, even though it did get brought up to a more enjoyable or engaging level. So it's like a trade-off. And the interesting thing is, in theory, the people who did SDR mods, they actually ended up getting better or cleaner sounding bass out of the HD800, out of the original HD800, than people who bought the HD800S. It's just that most people weren't willing to do that with a $1,600 headphone.
I did it.
So, but yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't that typical. I mean, it's definitely scary when you're peeling, like the peeling back that weird like film. Like I thought that was something more intrinsic to the headphone than it really is. It's just literally just
the increase to the bass distortion on the HD800 to HD800S isn't audible unless you're listening crazily high. Yeah, I tend to agree. It's more just that there's no, I don't know. Chrono probably has.
I didn't have any problem with the bass on those. For me personally, I thought the bass was fast. It reminds me of kind of like the SR1A, and I've been listening off the dual mono FIDARs recently with the SR1A, and the bass is it's not the impactful bass, it's that speed, like fast bass, and like just sounds good for whatever reason.
To me, the HD800S's bass is not fast. But that's like the
I haven't had it in a while too.
I mean, when you compare it to the other things, like the clear feels so much cleaner in the lows for me than the 800S. The Odyssey stuff, for me, it's in a different ballpark altogether.
It totally is. Yeah.
Because I don't know, planar bass just sounds completely different. I personally like it more. I think it sounds a little tighter, but yeah, the HD800S, the bass, I feel like that's what really lets it down. I wouldn't mind the dynamics as much if it at least still had the bass, but it's just kind of gone. And if you try to boost it, it just sounds.
So I think that's my other problem. Is I listen mostly on tubes with the HD800, so I wonder if that's also coloring my opinion.
What would be cool to do is a comparison between the HD800S and the HD800 SDR, and have them side by side and see which one has cleaner, better bass.
I think the SDR is technically
that's right. Yeah,
better.
I think so too, but I don't know. I'd have to have them side by side.
Maybe when I get them back, I'll send them up that way and you can get them measured or something.
What is Precog Vision's PFP? What do you mean by that?
He's talking about my Weeby profile picture that I
forgot to change. Profile picture.
Picture.
Okay, gotcha.
Is Andrew looking for new anime recommendations?
What's your favorite waifu pillow under $1,500?
Yes.
You don't have to answer. I'm just kidding.
Yes, we win. No. Okay. Let's do our man, the new man in the town. Theo.
Wait, so we're going with
what's the first range?
2001 to 2000. I already know what my
1
guess
to 2000. 1 to 2000.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna guess U12T.
That's what I was gonna say. U12T. I'll say the what I will go with. What else has he heard?
So you recently reviewed the 64 Audio Neo. Yeah,
the Neo. I think the U12T. I don't think you're too. Based on my limited reading of your reviews, I would say I'm gonna go Andromeda 2020.
Ooh.
Even though I think the U12T is better performing technically, the Andromeda is a better price performance. 2020 specifically.
And Chrono. Any
Chrono's like, I'm pulling up the IEM list. Hold up.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Chrono. If you're not,
we've changed your name.
Yes, I actually have one. I have one.
Okay.
Odyssey LCDI 4.
Oh, wait, how expensive?
That's $2,500 though. I thought.
No, but it's on sale.
It's on sale. You can get it on sale for under you can get around $1,000 on sale. I think.
18
or open box. I think is.
All right, fine. I'll play by the rules.
No, it's fine. LCDI 4 is.
Okay. You can find it.
Yeah.
LCDI 4 is a great IEM. I mean, if you can consider it an IEM, I guess.
It's more like an in-ear headphone.
But
yeah.
Sorry, that was on the nose.
Yeah, I guess my favorite would definitely be the U12T if I could only buy one. I do like the Neo quite a lot though. Like in terms of preference, I do think I like it more just because it has all that bass.
It's the hybrid, right?
Yeah, But yeah, definitely the U12T. If I only could buy one, it would be the Z1R, but I can't fit it. That's the thing.
Oh, okay.
It's just very painful, and
Right.
I think that's one of the obstacles you run into.
With the Neo, what's your favorite Apex module?
M15.
You like the bass?
Yeah, I really don't like the M10, even though I recognize that it's a much more balanced sound.
Wait, what about the MX?
The M10?
Oh,
M10, right?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Sorry, I get it.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's definitely a lot more balanced in that configuration. It's just that I think it rolls off the sub bass a bit.
It does, yeah.
It's not my thing exactly. But,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to do the Crin mod.
Yeah.
At the risk
that
of
graph
breaking
looks so juicy with the Crin mod.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
does.
a shame.
Yeah. Android says that he likes the M15 module too with the Neo.
Ant's a closet bass head now. He's a closet bass head. You guys didn't know.
That surprises me actually a lot. I would not have expected.
$1,200 LCD is hard to beat. After listening to it, I mean, with EQ at least, I think it's kind of hard to beat if you can get over the weight. It just punches so much harder above that price tag.
And that's the thing, like, as well, when I was listening to Tyler hates planars, when I was evaluating that against like the Aria, without EQ, the Aria sounds so much more clear and detailed and spacious and everything. But then with EQ, when you bring it all in, it's like there's something about the LCDX that's really, like, I think it competes with stuff that's in the $1,600 price range. And the other thing too that's cool about the LCDX, and this is why it was my pick for you, Chrono, is the timbre is actually like, okay, so not like without EQ, the timbre is totally wild. But
that's the biggest problem, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's
the EQ. It's whether or not you're fine with using EQ, because it sounds so weird without it.
Yeah. No.
There's all that treble, but then there's no
no ear-related gain. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a negative gain.
Negative.
Okay, so we got to go with Tyler now. Between 1 and 2,000, I'm going to guess.
Cushy boy Aeolus.
Oh, that's a good choice. Between 1 and 2,000, I'm gonna guess the Unique Melody MEST.
That's good choices. Theo, you gonna attempt it, or are you just gonna let us go with that?
Yeah, let's go with the MEST, honestly, too. I think there's a lot of people who like that one right now.
So I have a couple things. If I was going to go IEM specifically, I would probably pick either the MEST or the Andromeda 2020s. Those are my top two for IEMs in that price range. I think just price performance wise. For going for headphones, I'd say the Aeolus, just because that fits my preference for that warmth, that nice mid magic that ZMF is known for.
Thankfully, on the lower end of that price range.
And it's on the lower end, which speaks, right?
You can spend the rest of the money on tubes and stuff like that.
Exactly. You get a bottle head crack and really be happy.
Yeah.
Depending. But so like I think also in that range, I always say this to a lot of people when it comes to the headphone side of the house, is I think LCDX, the Clears, and the Aeolus are my top 3 picks for people depending on their preference, right? Like, so that's how I'll say, like, what do you like to listen to? What do you currently have? And you know what I mean? Like, and try to, those are my recommendations though in that price point, the top 3 for me anyways. And then IEMs, so after hearing, and Theo and everyone else has heard them, is the Andromeda 2020s. I think I'm really impressed with these. I don't know, like as far as price performance goes, like they're just unoffensive and they just do things well.
I thought they were solid overall.
Yeah,
I think I'd even take them. Oh yeah.
No, I was just gonna say straight up better than the original, in my opinion. But
I mean, I miss the sparkle of the original. I will say this, but yeah, you are correct. They are definitely way more easy to get along with.
I like that. I like the smooth.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I've definitely moved into that realm too. But yeah, I think that those are all, like, as far as like price performance wise and like things that I would personally, I like looking for deals too. But then when it comes to artsy stuff, I'm always going to go with stuff like, I like when you can marry the two.
Yeah. Sorry, Precog had something.
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
I think I was going to say like the Android. Yeah, it's definitely one of the. I don't know if I'd still call it the benchmark, but it's still very solid at the 1K price point. I think I'd even take it over the M9, which I think
a lot of
some people
like
tend
that,
to prefer more. Yeah. I think Yeah, it's just very solid overall.
Now 2020 over the M9 or the original over the M9?
I actually haven't heard the original.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah.
Somebody asks, would you recommend the Clear for EDM? Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
It's a nice, warm, fast. It's speedy, and it's
got the dynamics.
But the treble spike at 10K might get you though.
Oh
Yeah, but it's EDM, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
But the EDM's great.
Sometimes EDM has those spikes where they'll randomly. Like,
you're not listening to.
You're like, whoa. But yeah, I agree.
The dynamics will be fun with it though. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I think So on to Resolve. Let's see what would his what do you think, guys? Let's go with Theo. We'll go with you first this time. What do you think for Resolve? 1 to 2K.
For the
anything
1 to 2K.
Yeah.
I don't know, HD800S.
Well played.
Yeah.
Chrono.
Just gonna go with that.
I mean, I
Aeon 2 open.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
That's
I'm
$900.
kidding.
yeah, I'm like, wasn't ready for that one.
I actually have a good guess here.
Mhm.
Odyssey LCD XC.
It's on his head.
I'm wearing those.
Yeah. He has been gushing about those recently. I'm gonna say Aria personally.
Oh.
So, but yeah, so there we go. We got HD800S, Aria, and LCD XC, which are on his head right now. So
yeah, so Chrono got it right. Thing is, it would be I really like the Aria, right? And to me the Aria is like that. It's a planar HD800S basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits my preference for like the music that I like, like jazz, acoustic, classical, that kind of stuff. And for that stuff, the Aria is fantastic. But there's something about the LCD XC that it's got the dynamics that I love. It might not be as like spacious and like have as much depth for soundstage and layering and all that stuff that the Aria does, but it's got better dynamics. And I think the timbre here is better as well. Like there's something really like, okay, I'm going to use a subjective audiophile term, but like really like euphonic about like the bass and the mids and the way all that stuff works together. And of course I do EQ it. And just keep in mind that I'm saying LCD XC that's after 2016. So before 2016, I'd probably say not the LCD XC. But afterwards with the retune, I really like the LCD XC.
Also, probably more specifically after 2018 because of the headband, because that's when they changed to the suspensious headband.
That's right, and also you can get the carbon fiber headband as well. I think they're sold out right now on the site, but because I was looking at getting that, but that does reduce the weight by about 30 grams. So, yeah,
that's pretty good actually. Pretty good weight change.
Yeah, like it's funny because I took the headband off of this one because I wanted to measure the cups themselves. I think I mentioned it to you guys, but like each cup for the LCD XC is 330 grams. So each cup weighs more than an HD800S.
Oh wow, that's ridiculous.
Or just about what the HD800S.
Yeah, like roughly, yeah. Which is I'm surprised I'm able to get through a whole day with them. Like it's
impressive. I want to jump in because I think Chrono has to get going. Soon. But so let's hit the 3,000 mark real quick. We'll go fast. We'll guess Chrono's just
the lightning round.
Yeah.
Should we do 3,000 or should we do just like
Summit Phi?
Top? Yeah, like if you had not all the money, but like
10,
let's cap
10,
it at like.
Or
let's not say no cap. Let's say some cap. At like some cap.
I see what you did there.
At like, let's cap it at
Yo, quit capping.
Oh Jesus.
Let's cap it at like within reason because we can't say the 50 grand stuff from like it's got to be stuff you've heard.
I'd take the Orpheus HE one.
No, it's got to be stuff you've heard, right? So
stuff you heard. Or you would personally like literally legitimately buy. I think that's
yeah. Let's not go over things that I.
So you can't say the Hi-Fi Man R10 because we know.
Oh no!
You would just be all about that $5,000 one.
Wait, is this the 2000? Is this the 2000 and over bracket?
Yeah,
yes.
It has no cap. No cap.
But it has to be something you've heard. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So okay. So
I actually have one in mind. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna guess for Chrono. The Rosson Audio Rad Zero.
Yeah, I would say that's
a very good option.
I was gonna say the same thing actually.
What else has he heard over?
I was trying to think what else he's heard over 2000, and I would pick the Rosson Rad Zero also.
Theo?
Theo,
He doesn't know.
He's like,
I don't know. I don't even consider headphones in this price range. Honestly, it's like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
fair.
they're pretty out there, aren't they?
It's ridiculous. I agree.
I have listened to the HD820, guys. That's
oh yes.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Well played.
How could we forget?
He's on his head right now.
Yeah.
So what would it be? What would it be, my man?
You were both correct. It's the beautiful Rosson audio, Rad Zero.
Dude, those are my favorite planars.
A
Man.
little on the clampy side, but man, they sound fantastic.
Yeah.
They really do.
Chrono has to bounce.
If you have to bounce, Chrono, go ahead and jump, and then we'll just continue on for a little bit. And
I want to do the last round of guesses.
Okay.
Go quick. We'll go quick. So Theo, we'll guess Theo's. I'm gonna say, has he heard it yet? No, he's coming soon. Damn it. I was, cause he hadn't heard it yet, but I was gonna say the Odin, but I don't think you've heard that yet, have you?
I want to listen to that. Yeah.
So I was gonna say the Odin, but if you haven't heard it yet, that's tough.
Yeah. You could just say. Well, U12T is like $2,000, so it's like it counts, I guess.
Again. I'm gonna say Odin just because. Screw it. He's gonna hear it soon.
Empire Years Wraith.
Ooh.
That is a terrific IM. One of the best IMs I've heard.
I think he's joking.
No. I think
I'm joking.
But I'm gonna say
I had to take a guess, man. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say either the Legend X.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or the TF Forte.
Ooh, the TF Forte.
I haven't heard either of those.
Oh, dang it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then U12T.
It's still the U12T.
Yeah.
I think at a certain price, diminishing returns, they hit pretty hard, right? So I don't think I would even consider anything over $2,000. So
yeah, it's tough with IEMs as well, right? Because
I thought the U12T was fantastic, man. I literally was between the U12T and the MEST, and I was like, screw it, I got the MEST, so because it's the best.
And it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah, it is cheaper. It is.
Can't best the MEST.
U12T had better technicalities.
I don't know. I just wanted to make it rhyme.
Yeah, you're good. All right.
Oh, do I need to turn up my voice?
I was trying to make those kinds of puns in my upcoming review of the MEST Chrono, so hopefully people aren't rolling their eyes too much.
Nothing's quite as clear as the clear.
Yeah. For you, everything sounds unique about the unique melody MEST. Does it sound messed up? Not really.
There's a certain uniqueness to the unique MEST melody sound. It's very unique. Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta go with Tyler here.
Summit Phi.
So, yeah. We should all know the answer to this. I'm gonna guess the VC.
Solid.
I mean, actually, it's between VC and SR1A.
Oh, that's a good choice. Oh man. Well, VC's. I'm gonna go VC or VO. One of the two, or both. Maybe combined. That's the favorite.
Like what you would buy, right?
What I would buy. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Theo? Yeah, I guess whatever you guys said.
Those guys.
We gotta get you some. We gotta get you listening to some headphones too. He's like HD6XX.
Yeah, I'd go these two right here. That's it. Good.
What?
Perfect. And
if you had to choose between them,
two of them, I think this one.
VC,
yeah. But as far as complimentary, those two are my two top Summit Phi compliments.
Oh, congratulations! You've got there.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like a pretty good combo. I mean, you have a close back, and then you have the earfield speakers,
and they both have like complementary tunings as well. Like one's
pretty good contrasting experiences actually.
You know, it's crazy. I need to get the somehow get you guys onto the SR1A with the dual Vidars, or with like the SPL S800.
Yeah, a lot of people were telling me that it scales.
It's like because I literally just did it, and I was like I need to plug in the Jotunheim R again because it's a not insignificant, but it's a fairly significant jump in capabilities and technicalities. But yeah, anyways, on to Resolve. Let's do this. I already know. I my guess is Susvar. Oh no, he changed. I think we talked about this already. He's changed his opinions on these.
Tyler's showing off a sleek cheese grater.
Actually, it's actually a zapper. It's to get flies out of my room.
Oh, that's amazing.
resolved. So let's go Theo. Or are you gonna? Well, no, we'll let Theo go. We can let him default to what you guys choose.
Yeah,
Chrono.
yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Chrono, what you got, man?
Definitely not the LCDX, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's one that
like
was...
no cap.
Like no cap. It's definitely not the LCD. Sorry, LCD4. I meant to say. I don't think the LCD4 would make it. Would it? Did somebody already say Susvara?
Yep.
Yes, you did.
Nope, I didn't.
Oh, but I feel like it's a Susvara. I don't know. I feel like that changes. Like,
yeah, I think
because of I think the thing is the dynamics. I'm like thinking, I was like, oh, if he wants dynamics, I don't know if the Susvara is gonna be the best option.
It has dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It's not like other hi-fi man.
No, but I mean, like, does it punch as hard as like the Utopia and the LCD4 and
not LCD4, but pretty close.
Let's get a guess, man. We got to go.
All right, Verite open.
Open. Oh, well, that's different. I'm gonna say Shangri-La Junior.
Oh man.
Oh.
Like,
so
it says. Someone says, "I know the answer." Nighthawks.
Final Audio D8000.
It'll have to be the Pro version.
That's
Pro version.
Supposed to be getting one in for review here pretty soon. Actually, I'm gonna try it with the ZMF Pilot Pad or Pilot Pads over here.
Yeah.
Copilot.
That's what I have. I have the Copilot on my.
Let's try it. See if it works.
That's what I have.
Well, I don't know if it's wide enough. I need to. I told Buffalo Wing that I'd give him some feedback on whether or not it works for that for the D8000 Pro, because that's like the biggest issue with the D8000 Pro. It's the comfort.
Well, if it's a thick headband, it's not going to work. They don't work on focals. They don't work on anything.
That's my concern. Yeah, and it is a bit on the thicker side.
The Copilot don't work on them.
Yeah, we'll see. Theo.
What
I don't know.
What these guys said.
You can pick an IEM too. I have heard the Odin.
He has heard the Odin.
Oh yeah, okay, Odin. We're gonna go with Odin. I know you like that a lot. You've told me
that. So actually, none of you guys got it. It is the Susvara.
What?
So okay, here's the thing. Technically, I could cheat and say the Shangri-La Senior because I have heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is what the last time when we did that.
That's why I confused.
The last time,
Susvara,
that's right.
And
we were talking about
Junior.
what's like the best detail headphone, and I picked the Shangri-La Senior.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've heard the Shangri-La Junior, but I haven't heard it enough to have. I heard it for like literally.
Oh, that's right.
Two tracks. It was like
I confused you. Damn it.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who've heard the Shangri-La Junior and say that it might actually be the best, E-stat that they've heard. Like it might be like competes with like the SR. Well, they say the Omega, but like the SR 007 Mark 2 or 2.9 or whatever it is. They say that one and the Shangri-La Junior are very competitive with one another, and I've heard both of those, but I spent way more time with the SR 007 2.9. The thing is, I would still take the Susvara over that one. So that makes me think I'd probably take the Susvara over the Junior, the Shangri-La Junior as well. And the reason for that is actually because of the dynamics. The Susvara has really good dynamics. It's the no trade-off in any category headphone for me, at least, right? Like good tonality. I don't really need to EQ. I probably would, but I don't need to EQ that much. And yeah, it's the best at everything for me.
Well played. All right. Well, I guess that kind of sums our topics. I mean,
well, that one we're gonna go into the Q&A here.
Yeah, as I say, now we can jump into Q&A. Right. So if anybody has, I didn't. There's actually a bunch of good ones in the beginning of the stream. Go back and. Someone asked, actually, Chrono, do you need a bounce?
Yeah, I was just want to say thank you very much again for the invitation to today's stream.
Always, man. Always.
I apologize, but I do have to depart early. I hope everybody has a nice rest of your afternoon, night, or morning, whatever time zone it is for you. Thank you very much.
All right,
cheers, man.
Good chat.
Yeah,
we'll chat on the other forums.
Yeah.
I miss being a student. It's I guess everybody you can always be a student, right? Just it's a matter of learning things. Don't say student of life. Don't. I know you wanted to, but that sentiment, right? I appreciate
experience, man. It's all about the experiences.
Yeah, I see some questions here, so let's dive right into it. And guys, if we missed your questions earlier that you guys asked, just ask them again, and we'll try and get to them. Somebody asks, how is EMU teak? Now, this is a difficult one because the teak, as far as I understand, is one of the versions of the Fostex driver, the biodynamic, that's going on with the former in TRX00, THX00 stuff that is now discontinued from drop. But I think they still exist in other Fostex headphones like the 610 and whatnot that are still in production. And the teak is kind of like, it's a version of that. And there are some people who say that it's the best version of that. Now, my take on it is that the ebony is still potentially the best version of that, but I don't know where you'd be able to find that. Whereas the teak, I think you could actually find. So as of right now, with the ones that are available, with what you can buy, I think if the teak is available, that might be the best version of the TRX00 or that Fostex driver. That's sort of my take on it. And did you say Android has it, or
his wife has taken it over, I believe.
Yeah.
He has the rosewood cups. He has the rosewood cups.
Oh, interesting. Cool. So yeah, that's you've heard it then, I guess. There, Tyler.
I have the teaks. No, I haven't heard the teaks. No.
Oh,
my understanding, that's like you just said. What you just said resonates with what my understanding of it is. So
the crazy thing, when we had that meetup in Seattle around Christmas time last year, somebody brought the ebony, TRX00 ebony, and the mahogany, the non-purple hearts, and I was so surprised at how much heavier the ebony was. It was remarkable. Like
I have the Android's ebony cups here, and they're heavy too.
It is crazy. Yeah, it's interesting how much of a difference that kind of stuff makes, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so let's dig into some more of these questions here. I saw one about try to listen to Amy Winehouse on the Aria and your ears will bleed. Okay, so with that though, it probably depends on which revision of the Aria, because I did notice there was a difference in terms of treble smoothness for the Aria. So the new, whatever the later revision was that I heard more recently, the one that we actually have in the office right now, that one was more smooth to my ear, whereas the previous one was a little bit like on the wrong side of sibilant there, for me at least.
So I'm trying to go through all the chat and trying to see if there's any questions early on. I was mistaken. Most of them were just kind of self-answering questions.
Yeah.
So.
Let's try and also get some IEM questions for Precog as well. Yeah, resident IEM expert.
I wouldn't say expert.
Thoughts on the final audio? Is it A8000? What's
this guy right here?
Yeah,
I think Precog has one right now as well, right?
Yeah,
I do. I think. Yeah, I have it right now. Ant sent it to me.
Yeah, that one. It's pretty. They're pretty. They're
okay.
Yeah, they're definitely really well made. I love the packaging.
Oh yeah,
trying to make
great? I know.
It doesn't actually.
I was like, oh god, why would you just?
I'm not close enough to the camera.
When I want it to focus, it doesn't, and then I'll be here and I'll be like, it's like.
That's what's so awesome about the ZV-1. I want that in like everything.
Product
just be like,
focus.
yeah, it's so good for what we're doing. Sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah,
Theo, yeah. Go A8000 thoughts.
Just my thoughts.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I think it is technically competent. It got that beryllium driver, and like the Luna, it has great dynamics and the just technicalities in general. At the same time, I think there are probably certain constraints they were forced to work with when they were implementing that driver, and those constraints sort of present themselves in the overall tonality, which I personally don't find to be very agreeable.
Yeah.
But what's funny is I lent them to someone else to check out for like a day and just listen to, and they actually quite like them.
Yeah.
So I think it's very sort of
personal,
subjective in like what people value between the
So Tyler heard them too, I think.
Yeah, and, I listened to them, and actually my first few songs I listened, and Theo and Resolve got to witness my experience with them.
You liked them at first, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought they were fantastic, and I was like, oh my god, these sound great. Like I was really blown away on the first, like I think 3 songs. I was like, wow, these are really good.
Yeah.
And then as Resolve and then Android was like, what?
Yeah.
like that was literally the response I got, and I was like, yeah, they're great. What? And then all of a sudden, like the next 4 tracks was like treble murder, and like I was just, it actually triggered like my tinnitus and stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
like I don't have bad tinnitus, but I get like little
to the upper mids and the treble. It's just peaky there.
Yeah.
Corinne was telling me, I mentioned this to Theo, but Corinne was telling me that one of the things you can do potentially is take like the material from like a tea bag and like put that over the nozzle, and that may curb some of the
makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if he's trolling me, but it might be worth trying.
I mean, it's got filters. It comes with filters too.
That's right. Yeah.
You take toilet paper and you wad it up and you stuff it in your ear on each side.
Mod your ears, not your IEMs.
Not in your ear holes, but like in this part, you have to wad
in the pin
toilet
flange.
paper and all the pin flange and all the
right.
and you have to stuff it and leave the ear. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, no, my thoughts line up with Theo's as well on the A8000. You know, I had that same experience. Where it's like some tracks it's like perfect, and then other tracks it's like whoa, too much.
Happened? Yeah.
Okay, getting back to the chat here.
And that track that you shared with me, Andrew, was
God. The sibilance tester.
Yeah,
it's effective though, right? It'll show if you know. I don't listen to that. Like it's not my. It's a weird song, but like, you know, it's the sibilant tester. Okay, so you guys getting the T1 or T5 Gen 3 for review? It's not on the horizon right now. Being talked about. If we can get a hold of one, it would be awesome to review. I've heard reports though that it's like the worst one, but I can't confirm because I haven't heard it. So yeah, Corinne tells me that it's not particularly good. How do you guys know we're buying the latest LCD XC version and not the early bad version? If you buy it from I always say this. I mean, you could buy it directly from Odyssey if you want to. I think, but the thing is, I think they're sold out of these wooden cup ones, and they only have the carbon ones right now, or they might that might be what they're doing. You know, from now on is the carbon ones. I also don't know if the weight is accurate that they have there published, because these ones were not. That didn't match what the weight actually was. So yeah, if you're buying, this is like my advice that somebody's asking the same thing with the Hi-Fi Man Sundara, and I think this is true for the Aria as well. Like, because there's for a lot of these headphones, there are revisions that happen over time. And like my advice is usually the same regardless of which headphone it is. Like, buy it from a reputable dealer and buy it with somewhere that has a return policy. So if it's like the old model, or old revision, you can just return it, right? If ideally if you can try it in person, do that, because then at least you'll also know if you're gonna like it. But I just caution people when they're buying the stuff used, because as soon as there's like revision changes, and people who are like in the know about what those revision changes are, they might be like, oh, I got to sell this one because it's the old revision and buy the new one or whatever. And like that means that if you see something on the used market, there's a risk that it could be one of the older revisions and you wouldn't be getting the newer one. So that's like my only real advice there. And like with the LCD XC, if you really want to be confident about that, just buy it from the Odyssey website. Yeah.
There's a good question here, and I think all of us can generally answer it. Especially like, so it's basically, how do we cope with significant others or roommates or family or friends and having headphones and listening in our listening sessions? Me personally, that's where my IEMs kind of come into play. But generally when I'm listening, I listen either in the morning or but no, I listen at night. Honestly, I wait for the daughter and wife to go to bed, and then I'll sneak into my room and I'll listen. And then during the day, like now, like I'll try to while I'm working or editing, I'll listen. But I mean that's unique to me, or to certain people, obviously. But for like general, when I was full on 9 to 5 and the COVID thing wasn't a thing, and I would do it at the end of the day. That was my big listening time, was at the end of the night, and all the family went to sleep. Theo,
sure. So because I'm a college student, right? I used to live in a dorm,
It's
and yeah. So for a while, I was using the HD6XX. But you know how it's open back, and then my roommate would tell me like, "Shut up, man! Like, I can hear it from over here. I'm trying to study." So then, like, yeah, I had to switch over to IEMs, and I've just been an IEM guy ever since, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that
But
makes it
like
pretty
Tyler,
easy.
like, yeah, and like Tyler, I mostly listen at night, like right before I go to sleep. I think it's a great way to just unwind, kind of.
That's exactly my way I do it too.
Yeah.
Some whiskey and some good tubes.
Oh man, yeah.
Tubes and some music, right? Float.
I was gonna say it probably changes if you're using like the LCD i4 or LCD i3.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like for me it hasn't really been that much of a problem. Just because like I have like kind of like a little office studio space here, so that's where I do like all my work and stuff. So it's not really that much of an issue. But actually, I do think it's worth. I just like if I could give advice to anybody who's like asking about this, it's worth getting your significant other to like try stuff out as well, because it's another perspective, and it can be like a bit of fun, even if they're not into the hobby and whatnot, well, first there's always a chance that like you get them interested in like their music
Android
sounding
has
better.
This problem right now.
Oh really?
Yeah, his wife stole all of his good headphones.
Well, there you go, right? So like there's always a chance that you can bring somebody else into the hobby who's maybe they finally hear their music that they like in a really good way for the first time, because they're only ever used to listening to
like AirPods or
bad sounding equipment. So that and like that's the thing, like for us who are like into this stuff, like we don't always have the opportunity, we never have the opportunity to have that first experience again of the first, remember like the first time you heard like
that's a chase,
really nice headphones, it's like whoa, right? And then like every other experience is like, okay, maybe a little better, but with the significant other who's never heard it on good equipment, you have an opportunity there to like show them the first time, right? And then like so then my advice would be to try and get them to try it out as well. Then they understand what it is that you're talking about and why you're into it so much. So there's a bit of a conversation there. I did want to mention the one thing with the open back versus closed back thing though. In my experience, but my only real experience with that has been from my parents, where my dad he's got some open back headphones. Actually, I gave him a pair of SHP 9500s like a long time ago, and like he's old, so he doesn't, his hearing's not that great anyway, so whatever. But he prefers those over some, I can't remember, I also give him some closed backs because my mom was complaining about she could hear that sort of parasitic kind of sound that I'm sure it's similar to the roommate situation.
Roommates, same thing.
So and it wasn't so much that like she cared that he was listening to music and doing whatever he was doing, like paying attention to something else, though. It was this little parasitic kind of sound that just was annoying to her, right? Because you're hearing it through somebody else's open back headphones, you're not hearing it in good quality. So she'd be always like, just put it on the speakers, stop listening with that, because it's annoying when I only hear like that tiny little let's say upper frequency noise.
My trick too is I get one of those little things, talk about little trolley things, and I just throw it in my wife's and daughter's room. I'll just get a bunch of them and put them out the house, and then they just focus on that and not my headphones. No, I'm joking.
Nintendo Switch is another good idea too. I'm sure I haven't done it, but
there's a good topic. Someone's asking about planars and tube amps. I don't think OTL work, but I have a set and triode, whatever. I have the hybrid style tube amps, and I actually really enjoyed, like, for me the Ananda wasn't my exact favorite planar, but when I put it on the KN HA1A Mark II, it was like it really fleshed it out to a level for me that I really started enjoying it more.
My experience has so far been that it doesn't matter if it's a tube amp or like the distinguishing factor isn't tube amp versus solid state necessarily, because you can have for pairing with planars, because you can have a system that pairs fine with planars that's either. But I think it's far more common for it to be better off of solid state amplifiers that have balanced outputs that with high current, especially for the inefficient ones. And also like I've had a lot of experience with tube amp. Well, so far the experiences that I've had with tube amps and planars hasn't been as good as it's been with dynamic driver headphones. So yeah, again, I don't think that's like a necessary thing. Like I don't think that's a rule. There's probably going to be situations where tube amps pair really well. And actually, when we were at CanJam this year, before all the madness happened, you know, a lot of the booths where there was like a planar magnetic headphone there, they had tube amps, and actually even the like for example, a lot of the tube amp manufacturers, like the Oris guys,
the Oris
that do the Euterpe and the Hatu SE and the Nirvana and stuff like that, really high end tube amplifiers, and really nice looking tube amplifiers. They had a lot of planars there as well. They had the HD1000 SE, and honestly, the HD1000 SE off of tube amps was better than it was off of solid state, because it curbed some of that crazy treble that it has. You know, softens it. Yeah, so there are situations where I think it can help. It's just, you know, if you have a planar headphone that you like the way that it sounds, like just by default, and you don't want to like change that all that much, then probably solid state, high current solid state's the way to go.
I have a quick question too for Theo. It's not really in here, but like, what would you like, real quick, like just to kind of, if you could have, what's your setup? Like, what's your preferred setup right now? Like, if you're, are you still doing the dorm thing? Or are you doing the?
No, I'm at home right now.
You're home.
'Cause,
so like,
yeah.
For you then, do you use a DAC? Do you use or do you do like, what's your preferred setup? Or you do the dongle life with the
sure,
the in-game Apple dongle?
Yeah. I do have a dedicated DAP. It's the Ibasa DX160. At the same time, though, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me, because I have my phone and my computer and all that stuff as well, to just always use it exclusively. But I will try to use it when I'm like critical listening for reviews. But just in general, I mainly use the dongle and my iPad.
Have you?
We lost him. Damn it.
Okay. I was mid-question.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just going to answer Soundwave Trax' question. Resolve, I hope you get another LCD4 at some point to review it with EQ against other flagships. I actually had one in like just like a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, but I couldn't review that one.
Sorry. Like what happened?
Oh, the
LCD. I got disconnected.
Oh yeah. No, the LCD4, like there's some unit revision going on with that one, or unit variation. Like it's a problem with it seems to be a problem with planars more than anything else, with sort of unit variation. And maybe it's just, you know, because of the pads and stuff like that, but where there's like, you know, variance as a result of thicker pads, and that is probably responsible for a lot of that. But that one that I had in, I could not review it, because the tonal balance was just, it was literally the worst measuring headphone I've ever seen in my life. So I was like, okay, this one, there's probably something wrong with it. So I had to send it back to the office. So I don't know. I think maybe we got to replace that one or something. And I see another one here.
Question. Real quick, back to Precog.
Oh yeah, back to yeah.
The DX160, you have, so that's that one. But then do you use a desktop setup, or do you just go straight to?
Oh, okay. Maybe disconnected me. Yeah. I mainly just run it off of my iPhone, honestly, with the dongle. I find that's really convenient for my uses.
I was going to ask you, have you tried one of those? The
IE match?
No, it's this thing here, the Rosson ES100. Sorry, guys.
Or this.
Yeah, I've seen those. Honestly,
there's other versions, like other
Bluetooth. There's the Bluetooth thing.
It's not just there's a few companies that are making stuff like this, but essentially what it is this is, oh my god, come on, folks, there we go. It's it's a DAC. Oh my god, DAC amp. Combo that's Bluetooth, so it pairs with your phone, and then it's got both 2.5 millimeter balanced and then 3.5 millimeter outputs. And then the cool thing about this is this has software that's got really good EQ ability in it, and the software in this is awesome. Now I don't think this is just used as a very lower end AKM chip for the DAC in here. But functionality wise, this is I really like this, because like I use this all the time, kind of like what Theo was saying, how he ends up using his phone more frequently. Like if he's not doing a review, this for me is that, because it's like it's just convenient, like it's easy to use.
Yeah.
I mean, I do the same thing. Actually, honestly, I do the dongle like with my MEST, or I had the Andromeda Golds too, and same thing.
Yeah. So I want more companies to do stuff like this, because this is pretty useful.
Titian has the Lutu Pa, or which is similar.
Isn't that bigger though?
It's bigger. It's like, I think it's like a pin size maybe, or like smaller than a pin, but like maybe the size of my finger or something.
Oh, okay.
Or here you go. You got the little.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this isn't it. This is just a remote, but like that's.
Yeah.
But I think it's like that size though.
Yeah. I saw another question here about. Oh yeah, no love for the Abyss AB1266 Phi TC. Seems like it has good sound with S&M aesthetics.
S&M.
Oh my god!
Weren't we just talking about something like this the other day?
I don't think so.
I think we were talking last night, as a matter of fact.
I think the SR1A is the closest. No, that's maybe more like futuristic.
I think
maybe you were having a conversation about it with somebody.
It was the. What were we talking?
Rush's pillow.
Rush's pillow, yeah.
So I can answer that question. It's not that there's no love for it; it's that we haven't had a chance to hear it like in the proper like review environment. I heard it at the show at CanJam, but it's not enough. It's show conditions, right? So I can't really say like it was impressive for sure. I think we
were talking about Switch. It was last night. The Switch.
Oh, okay, right. Oh yeah. Right.
Sorry. Inside. Stupid.
But yeah, like I the only thing with the AB1266 Phi TC, it's the same thing that I think exists for most of these like crazy high-end like flagship planars, that because the technical performance is so insane on them, they get away with, let's call it suboptimal tuning for most people. Meaning that it's not so much, which isn't really a problem. I don't think that's as much of an issue. And Tyler will probably agree on this one. It's probably not too far. It's probably still within the tolerances, but it's definitely something I would EQ. So I don't know. For my recommendation, if you're not planning on EQing something, I would still take the Susvara over that. But if you are comfortable doing EQ, or maybe you have like an RME ADI2 or something like that for the DAC, maybe the AB1266 TC, Phi TC would be able to outperform the Susvara for technical performance. But I'd have to, again, it's one of those things I can't tell unless I have it here. So maybe one day we'll get to review one, but it's tough to get a hold of those.
Yeah, those are interesting.
Have you heard
barriers of entry? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also the fit is odd.
Yeah, the fit has to be there. Like it's one of those things. Then once you get it down, like you can get it going once you have one.
Yeah.
You have it, but at the same time,
DMS actually helped me out with the fit when I was there. I was
sitting on your head.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, put it back and forward. And he's right. Like it does change you can kind of customize the tuning depending on how far forward or backward you're wearing it.
And it's pretty noticeable too.
I didn't mind the comfort. A lot of people said it's uncomfortable, and it is odd because it's like a fixed
wonky thing. But I mean,
it's weird. Like, but the strap was pretty comfy. Like once it was all set and everything, I found it more comfortable than like the LCD4. It didn't feel as heavy. So yeah.
Theo, favorite EDC knife? Go.
Knife? Benchmade bug out with the carbon fiber scales. Yeah. I think it just strikes such a great balance. I mean, the name is totally wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it is in no way a bug out knife, but for EDC, it is.
Bug out is
terrific.
Bug out is like,
and like
Apocalypse
go wherever.
Hit.
Let's
go. Yeah. Grab what you can and go.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't fit that moniker, which
is here now. I mean, we're living it, so
yeah,
it's good to have one. Let's see. There's more. Get some more questions here. SHP 9600 on Hype Train. Anyone having one for review? Well, actually, Chrono, who just left, just recently did a review of it on this channel, and he liked it, which is interesting. And I have seen some frequency responses for it as well. So hopefully, actually, Chrono can send that one over here. We can measure it on our rig. But it looks to be just sort of like a mild improvement over the 9500, which is a good thing, I suppose. A little bit more bassy, right? Good thing. Let's see. See more questions. If you guys like make sure it is a question, then we'll know that it's a question, like with a question mark. Because otherwise we'll be like, what?
But Budget Audiophile asks, so when is the how to break a HD800 guide coming? Low blow, man. He's not here. He's not here. Low blow.
Man. We're probably giving it to him a little bit much. Let's see. Opinion about the clairvoyance. That's the Theo clairvoyance.
Oh yeah, we're trying to get that in, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
I might hear it
soon.
Today. I might hear it today.
Oh, you're going over to.
Oh, you're gonna Ant?
We're gonna go watch Puppy Dogs. I think he has a Monarch too. So
did he buy them?
He does.
No,
they got sent to him for review.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we should be getting both of those in at some point for review soon here. So I'll probably do a video on them, and then we'll measure them, do a video on them, and then also we'll get some articles from Theo to do a deep dive as well.
Hey Theo, have you tried the IE800 or IE800S from Sennheiser?
Yeah, I have I have one time for like 10 minutes at the Sennheiser store actually. But I honestly don't remember much about it. Is the thing, because that was so long ago, and like I went back. I wanted to try the all their IEMs, but they wouldn't let me because of COVID and everything. So I only got to try out their headphones. So a bit unfortunate, but yeah.
That's the other thing that's kind of bumming me out. What do you think? Like, so this is actually a good one for both of you guys too. Is like I love Sennheiser. Like, it was one of my first headphones that I really was like. I got pulled into that ecosystem. And it seems like both you two also have fond memories of the HD or Sennheiser series. Like, I know that a lot of companies are switching over to the mass market, which I get, makes sense. But like, there's part of me like, God, I really want to see like a HD. I guess it'd be the 1000, or you know what I mean. Like, I want to see not like an HD820 or whatever, but like I want to see a new total, like, just what can they do now, right? Instead of the HD800, like what, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love to see that. I know it's me, but what you guys?
Well, it's a bit tricky because Axel Grell is now freelance consulting, and so I don't know. They'll have to figure out some other way, because like one of the it's fascinating reading about the HD800s, the original HD800s development, and they actually did like a ton of research to try and make it, like, their goal was to make it more speaker like and like a larger presentation, and that's one of the reasons why it sounds that way. But yeah, I think they'll need to, well, it depends on the direction that they want to go. But I just wanted to mention, like, one of the things that I really like about Sennheiser is that they do put a lot of research into. I mean, yes, the HD820 is like what happened there.
Engineered. Like, it's when you actually look at the engineering behind it, like in the story, it's fantastic. And like,
but
the cups,
even
the glass, like that's.
Oh yeah, no, the engineering, and it looks and feels great. But even as far as the tuning goes, maybe not the HD820, but like for the HD800 and HD800S, and you know, there's a lot of research that went into, you know, making sure that it had, you know, the optimal tuning and whatnot. So I think, and that's different from many of these other companies that are more boutique, that often go for just what sounds good to them. And I do tend to think there's a good reason to, I mean, not everybody can do this, but like, there are benefits to, you know, relying on the research for tuning purposes. That Sennheiser, at least in some of their models, has done really, really well, right? So I think it really depends on what their direction ends up being, you know, for their headphones in the future, because you know, inevitably they'll make another one.
That's what it's like.
I want them to make a planar. Let's just see what happens with that, or like an E-stat, or another, you
something
know,
different. Like
they do, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say they do, but yeah, not like a more
$50,000 one.
Yeah, like something more in line with like the glasses.
Yeah. Well, but that was also one of the things with the HD800, is that they were trying to make it similar to an E-stat.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So yeah, with the ring radiator driver and everything. Yeah. But I don't know, Theo, what are your thoughts on that stuff?
I kind of missed it, honestly.
Oh no, because like you've had the HD6XX, and like everybody sort of has like the Sennheiser ones. Like, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I think I was definitely blown away when I first listened to them, so I do have like high positive regard for them. But over time, I've sort of noticed that I really don't vibe with it too much. The staging is kind of a little too cramped for my taste, and the bass, you know, it's not my thing. But I respect it for what it is. Definitely, it's there's nothing really else in the 200 bracket that competes. I think, right? It's like kind of the go-to.
I think it's also worth, you know, listening to that stuff on, you know, different amps and tubes and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's such a good tester for, you know, source equipment because it does change so much. I got another question here. Just I wanted to answer this one. I see. Would the D8000 be a worthy upgrade over the ADX 5000 with a tube amp? Yes, if it's the D8000 Pro. Yes, if it's the D8000 Pro. Not if it's the original D8000. So I saw that one. I had to get that one.
I still want to hear the 5000.
The ADX 5000?
Yeah,
I don't know if you're gonna like it.
Well, everyone keeps, because I love the HD800. Everyone's like, well, if you love the HD800, then you're gonna love
this is true.
5000.
It's a very interesting headphone, and I did like it. It's very detailed as well. They use a tungsten coated driver there. Tungsten,
that's pretty cool.
Either tungsten coated or tungsten, yeah. So it's a very unique, and the driver itself looks really weird.
Is it like a folded driver?
I took a photo of it. It looks kind of similar to like one of those composite drivers, but then there's this weird kind of like metal piece that's on top of it that I haven't really seen before with like perforations in it. It's odd, but really cool. My only complaint with the ADX 5000 is that the timbre is a little bit on the like odd side, a little artificial sounding, but really like the detail was good. It's bright. It's like maybe 2 dB too bright. Yeah, for me. But yeah, actually somebody also asks, does the tuning change for the LCD XC cups if you use it, because like these are discontinued with or either you can't get them now at least, or they're discontinued. I don't actually know because I haven't tested the carbon ones, unfortunately, so we'll find out. Let's see, more questions here.
Valley should run your Hi-Fi Man and Nanda. I don't know if they'd be the best.
Anything runs the Hi-Fi.
I mean,
you can sneeze at it.
Yeah, the Nanda's pretty easy to run.
Actually, you know, just on that subject, like I'm noticing, so like behind me is Jeremy's SoundAware P1.
Oh, that P1's ridiculous.
And this thing is insane. Like this is a Class A solid state amp that has so much power. Like I don't know why you would ever need to use this for any headphone other than like, well, you could use it for whatever you want, but like nothing takes even remotely close to the amount of power this has, except for maybe an HE6. I don't know, LCD4 maybe.
The thing is ridiculous. It's fantastic.
It's crazy.
It's tiny too. Like I was shocked.
It's not very big.
Yeah,
it's smaller than the IHA6, smaller than the Phonitor X.
Oh,
so detailed. Like highly resolving and like insane amounts of power. I'll do a impressions video on it, but I wanted to bring it up because like right now I'm using the XC, and there's also the LCD X, there's the Hi-Fi Man Ananda, and there's the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE. There's all the Focal headphones, and if you can tell, there's a trend here with what I'm going for. It's that they all don't take very much amping to drive. They all take very minimal power, and there's more too that are high end, you know, easy to drive.
A lot of them you can just run off DAC. I mean, you'd be totally happy.
Yeah, very, very easy to drive. Like this, the LCD XC.
Almost all the focals. Like this thing is ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, with the LCD XC, I'm running it on low gain off of the L30 right now, the topping L30, and it's like I'm right at noon. Like it's all you really need. Like for and so like that to me, it's a shame in a way because I want to be able to use this stuff more. The crazy high end amps. But at the same time, this seems to be like a direction. Yeah.
Makes sense, because then they're trying to aim for that market that's so like basically like Theo. Actually, you're a perfect example. It's the people that just want to run things off their phone, even, right? Like you could technically run your Stellia, you could run a Elysia, you could run.
But to me, there's something like it's almost like a ritualistic thing about having the amp to set up.
Man, it's like
like that
vinyl
whole thing.
record. It's like the
I'm just getting older and thinking, yeah, in the future nobody's gonna be having amps and anything like that. What's an amp? Like no,
Neuralink.
all your DACs and amps, it's all in your headphones.
Yeah, that's Neuralink. It's all.
What are even headphones?
Chips.
Yeah. But like still, like I like that experience that. And this goes kind of there's a secret meeting that we were having the other day, but we were talking about like the value of the personal space.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, a stack is part of that.
Yeah,
it's part of that personal space. And
it's a mess, but yeah, like I just did that SR1A swap out to the dual Vidars in my desk. But yeah, like there's something about having, like, even me, like I come sit here and it's like that instant home feeling, right? When you have like, okay, like what do I want to listen to today, and like you kind of like browse your selection if you have that or whatever. Like just the experience of sitting down
and it, in that sense, it also kind of feels like on the headphone side, it's like there's cognitive dissonance going on there, precognitive dissonance going on there when you consider what's going on with the amp development and all that stuff. And it seems like there's almost like
there's
miscommunication
a thing too. Like, there's a very big visual aspect to it too.
Oh yeah.
And we even talked. I think we talked about it in the
with Matt Economist.
It's a real thing. All of your senses come into play, and if you're drinking booze, whoo.
Yeah. Does purple liquid make your headphones sound better?
Yes.
Yes.
All purples make everything better.
Have you tried? Oh, here's a good one for Theo. Have you tried Shure electrostatic IEMs?
No, I have not, unfortunately.
But they look. That's the one that has the like.
It has its own dedicated DAC and everything, right?
It's like real E-stats, not these Sonyan Electret.
Yeah, I've heard they're very, very technical though. Like, when it comes to like sheer detail retrieval and resolution.
Yeah.
They should be if they're electrostats. Yeah, that's definitely one I want to try if I have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, it's kind of rare as far as I understand as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. I don't see them pop up that often.
Yeah. The HD6XX is 220, so they kind of already shaken up the market. Yes. I think they also recognize that. I mean, I don't see, this is the weird thing to me is like, they're selling a ton of them and it's great, but I don't understand why Sennheiser continues to sell the HD650 at like twice the price of the HD6XX. It's like, why? Oh, maybe it's because in Europe you can get the HD650 a lot less expensive, and you can't get the drop version as easily. Maybe that makes sense.
Oh yeah, someone mentioned that here.
Let's see. HD800 is too grainy for a headphone with such good clarity. Well, it's definitely got some peaks, like 6K. Let's see. Oh yeah, I see the comment now. Yeah, a stack of shit, baby. Shit audio. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm unique in this, but I don't really like the way that the shit amps look. Like, yes, the color scheme of the Heresy, which is right here, is awesome. I love that, and I like that it's small. That's great.
But the Hell. The shit Hell looks gorgeous.
Something about like the curved like
front
top.
lip.
I'm not a fan of that for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, actually, here I got the O9R right here. Have it on.
Okay, so here's another question. I owned a Auteur and thought it was a bit too polite. Should I go for a Verite or Aeolus?
Oh yeah, that's why I just
crack
answered him.
So I kind of had that same thing with the Auteur where I thought I actually preferred the tuning there of the Auteur. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And actually, it's overall just like a pleasant listen. But I get what you mean by too polite. And that was the reason why I bought the Verite. Yeah.
I think the Verite is more engaging and faster. It's
not
it is
as faster,
warm as the Aeolus. The Aeolus is more of that engaging but warm and like it hits pretty hard in the bass realm, I guess. Not really.
Yeah. HD650 costs $540 in my country. Yeah, like it's expensive in North America as well. Like I just don't get it when you can get a drop version for $220. All right. Any more questions, guys? Anything for
Precog's
Theo?
favorite IEM that looks good. Specifically, that looks good.
So it can't be the
Looks
Utah
good.
T.
Yeah.
The U12T has its own appeal. It's kind of understated, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the Neo. The Neo's shells are like, dang man, they're so
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think they're using real abalone for those shells too,
I
so
love
it
abalone.
just really stands out. I think.
I don't even know what abalone is.
It's
The
mollusk from the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
crazy.
delicious.
It just looks so good, man. Then you also run the risk of them, you know, like getting stolen. That's kind of like why I like some of the more understated designs, especially because presumably you're going to be on the move with your IEMs more often, right? So, and they're going to be leaving the house. But yeah.
Yeah, that's
Last two questions were what was
I got another one here.
Go
What's your guys' opinion of the regular Zencan sound? Have you guys heard the Zencan? They're behind me here actually as well.
Actually, I need to.
That's the Zen Blue.
I have I still need to set it up. Sorry, Ant. This is telling. Actually, I was planning on setting this up this weekend and listening to it, but
there we go. Zencan. I did a video on these actually not long ago, comparing them to the drop signature stack. I think the Zencan is fine. Like it sounds great. The big controversy with the Zen was with the Zen DAC, because it didn't measure well and it didn't come with the power cable. It only came with USB cable and all that stuff. But it was like $120 or something. It's $130. So it was pretty inexpensive. The Zencan to me is like the better pairing, like the non-signature Zencan. I like that better with 6XX than the drop version, because the regular Zencan's bass boost doesn't boost the treble, whereas the drop version does boost the treble, and I thought it was unnecessary. But maybe that's just me. Let's see. Thoughts on the Focal Radiance? Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet.
it's a Bentley. That's my only hang up on it. It's gorgeous.
And you don't like Bentley?
No, I know I like Bentley, but like to me, it's I'm one of those weirdos that if I don't own a thing, like why would I have something that represents that thing?
I don't. But if you bought the Focal Radiance for Bentley, then you would have technically a Bentley.
I guess it's fair. But I love the colorway. Like I think that colorway is fantastic. I love black and copper. I love that look, or black and gold, or that's gorgeous colors. I think it's beautiful. And then the design of the cup's different, which looks gorgeous. Like I really love the look of what they did.
Apparently, and
it's a new tune too, right? Completely
new tuning, but and it is aluminum magnesium, so a similar driver type as all the rest of them. All the rest of that line. But apparently it's actually a different driver from the Allegia, and I can't confirm this because if you look at the spec sheet, it looks actually pretty similar with like impedance and sensitivity. But I have it on some authority, not good authority necessarily, but I have it on some authority that this could be actually a different driver. So that is it's interesting because if it were just an Allegia that was retuned, you'd be paying a premium for the design. But if it's not just an Allegia, because like the Allegia was never $12.99 or whatever it is, right? Or
$800, I think $8.99.
I think it was $8.99. Yeah, and so if it's actually something that's different, then that makes it exciting. Not just because of the design and the look, not just because it's a partnership with Bentley, but because there could be the design language is amazing, but like also because there could be a different and potentially better driver.
Which is interesting.
Because like for me, I'm like, well, I could you could buy a Radiance or you could buy an Allegia for $500 and then just EQ the Allegia to sound like right right. But you wouldn't do that. That's kind of like, I feel like the Radiance is something that you would buy, and it's not something to EQ probably, and it's not something. It's a very unique limited edition kind of thing.
Kind of like the Andromeda Golds, right? Like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where I think in a way, I don't want to say bragging rights, but this may be kind of like I rock the Focal Radiance. That's a limited edition thing. There's
only
that
500 made.
Yeah. So I think that's the reason to buy it.
It's a lifestyle thing.
But I think it's still interesting that it might be a different driver, and that gets me excited.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We'll have to have the Focal guys back on one of these days.
Yeah, I'm hopeful to get a Radiance in at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen, because it is special.
Limited, very special limited run.
Yes. I
Someone's
wonder.
asking about M9 versus Andro 2020. That's
yeah. Take it away.
Yeah, that's a tough one, honestly. Before the M9 got its price cut, I think the Andro would actually have been the default recommendation, because I think the M9 was like $1,500. But after that price cut, it's a little bit tougher. Also because they released a new Andro version of the Andro as well, right? Personally, I would go for the Andro 2020. However, I do think that on paper the M9 is a little bit better, I think, in the tuning. Just because I think it has some of that a little bit more treble sparkle, and it's also a lot warmer. But that might just be personal preference too, and it kind of depends on what you want. The other thing that you have to consider is that the Andro 2020 is very, very sensitive on the and it can sort of shift around the sound signature depending on what you're actually plugging it into.
Yeah, the output impedance of the source.
It's just so low. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. IE match and stuff like that. People are. I don't know. I didn't like the IE match with it. I thought it was no, because you can do it, but like first if you use the little dongle like IE match thing, you change the output impedance depending on which one you use. It's not that bad, but when you do attenuate it, there's a chance that it can change that. But I also found that when I got it to be the right output impedance, I couldn't get the volume loud enough. So it attenuated it too much. So for the tuning that I ended up liking with that, so I ended up not using it. But
totally random, but like I think the way they image is also very different, because the M9 has that, they both have holographic imaging in sort of a sense, but I find that the M9's staging is a little bit more cramped. It's not as open because of the way it because of all that timbral coloration and stuff. And it just doesn't. Yeah.
Sorry, do you get the same kind of BA timbre from both?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question as well, because the whatever BAs that Sony uses in their M9, it's definitely different in the sense that it's not as bad as most BA timbre. There's like actually a sense of weight to it, but it's not quite hitting dynamic driver timbre either. So it's in sort of this little weird spot. But some people might definitely prefer it because of that. I find that the Andro 2020, it's a very clean IM, but it does lack that density to its notes, that BA timbre, like you were saying. Yeah.
Is there? I was amazed when I heard the U12T for the first time, because I always thought there was a limit to what was possible with multi-BA driver IEMs.
Yeah. You know, I was definitely impressed too.
Because you hear like the entry level BA stuff, like multi-BA stuff, and like while the tuning improves often when you go up, it's not something where like the detail scales proportionally or like the technical performance scales proportionally. But then when you hear something like the U12T, you go, whoa, okay, so not all BAs are the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
it's
I think
like
that's what
M9
too. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Do you have like a preference for like certain types of BAs, like Knowles versus well, you said the Sony ones they have a little bit more weight to them. The Tia tubeless. I mean, that would be my preference.
I like the Tia ones. I do like the Tia ones. They're definitely some of the better ones out there.
Actually, it was interesting. I asked Campfire Audio about this a while ago when I was doing a bit of research on the Aura when it first came out, and I was asking them, because they make a big deal about crossover lists and stuff like that, and I was asking like, what's the benefit of that? And we got into that, but they told me that technically their IEMs are all tubeless as well. Not all, but all the like.
They do extend super high. Like if you plug them into a frequency response, like online one, just a very non-scientific one, I can tell that they go over 20k hertz actually, which is like just slightly over. Yeah, it's insane.
But actually, with that like tubeless design, that's basically like if you look at the sort of like the cross section of the BA driver where it has like the pin and everything, it's like the roof is lifted, right? Like, yeah. So it was interesting to me that like they're doing that Campfire Audio has been doing that as well, and they didn't make as big a deal about it.
Yeah,
but they made a big deal about the crossover list stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think 64 Audio, they mount their TS directly into the tube, right, or something like that. I don't know I don't know all the scientifics.
That's a question for Kryn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, getting a chance to hear how different BA IEMs can sound really took me down the rabbit hole of like not all BA drivers sound the same, and therefore it's similar. Like, you have dynamic driver headphones, and you can go all the way from like the Mylar stuff to the biodynamic to like aluminum magnesium to like beryllium. Like there's lots of different TPE, right, for ZMF ones. There's a lot of potential in using different materials and having a different kind of sound. So not all dynamic driver headphones sound the same. Similarly, not all planar magnetic sound the same, and I think that also extends for balanced armature driver stuff too. Which it changed my mind about that, because I always thought there was a limit. Yeah, okay, so that let's see if there's any more questions in the chat. Why did Focal put the Empire Ears logo on the Radiance? It's because the Empire Ears logo and the Bentley logo are very similar.
New partnership.
Yeah. I like Precog. I think his waifu icon is cute.
I should have changed it though. I forgot. I didn't even consider that, honestly.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the Ether CX? Okay, I haven't heard it, so I can't say good or bad. Oh, you got to move Precog back in.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I can't say whether the Ether CX is good or bad. But from people who I do trust, who have heard it, they say that it's not as good. It's like just clearly not as good as the initial implementations of that driver. Because, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that now DCA or Mr. Speakers, they're on like the version 1.1s for their Ether Flow series. And what they ended up doing with the previous versions of this was putting it towards the CX line for drop. I think it's similar to what, and again, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% sure of this because I didn't actually ask them, but I just suspect that this is the case. You see the same thing happen with Focal and the Alir, or a similar thing happen with Focal and the Alir, where at a certain point, a lot of those drivers ended up going to drop because they came out with the clear, and so drop then sold that as the Alex. And what was interesting about that, I thought, was that people could still buy the Alir at a lower price and get the clear pads or the Utopia pads, and then you technically have an official Focal headphone that sounded the same as the Alex, or basically very, very similar to the Alex. So as far as I understand, it's a similar kind of thing with a lot of the drop products, where they take something that's either end of life or discontinued or something like that, and they repackage it or tune it in a certain way, and then produce it at a lower price, which is good for the consumer. It's done really well on products like the LX and the HD800S. But we'll see where that goes. I'm not 100% sure about the CX's value because I haven't heard it.
Let's see. Endgame beats.
Endgame is beats. I don't know about IEMs. I can't use them. They hurt too much. But any headphone with a Fostex driver will be very bassy.
Depending.
I don't think it has to be.
Yeah.
but they often are.
Yeah, they often are.
Yeah. I think one of the main advantages there too is that you get pretty darn good dynamics with that stuff. Like people love those, TRX00s or the TH610s and TH909s, TH900.
Yeah,
they love that stuff because of how much they punch and slam. This is something, okay, so in the last live stream that we did with Kryn and Mad Economist, we were talking about, the reference curves, and I need to have a conversation with Mad Economist about this as well, because I want to do a little bit more digging into it, because I think it's an interesting topic. But if I ask you guys to listen to something, we're just going to go off of like anecdotal, impressions here. But if I ask you, do you think this sounds neutral? Is that different from what do you prefer? So for example, I'm thinking of all the times where somebody's told me that they are specifically looking for a V-shaped kind of sound, rather than
V-shaped sound. If they really want V-shaped sound, yeah, I'd say the Fostex, like the 610s, the 900s.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's why they're popular.
Yeah,
but like if I
or go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that like if I ask you, does your preference line up with neutral, or does it line up with what you think is V-shaped, or something like that?
Like, so what would be my preference in general, basically?
Yeah, does your preference line up with what you think is neutral? Is it the same, or does your preference line up with what you think has a certain flavor, one way or another?
I think for me personally, I would probably lean more smooth, warm, but I wouldn't say V-shape is my preference because
No, I know, but so like, so if somebody's preference is V-shape, do they think that that's V-shaped, or do they think it's neutral?
I got what you're saying. Yeah. No, they think that's neutral. That's because to them that's their
really
baseline.
Because to me,
their baseline, I think.
Well, see, to me, I think that it's possible to prefer something that is not neutral.
That's fair, actually. Yeah, because even me, like, I tend to go for the things that are different, right? Like, I'll go for the thing that has that unique thing. Kind of what we were talking about before with, like, the high-end stuff. It's always something that's unique about them that pulls you in and grabs you kind of deal, right? So, like, the MEST versus U12T, I thought the U12T was fantastic, but the MEST had just something about it that just grabbed me. Like, it caught my attention, and so that's why I went with that one.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
But, yeah, for sure. It makes sense. I'm just thinking of, like, that, we were talking about, the question about like what a reference curve ends up being. I don't know.
That's the thing. Reference curve is always going to be what that person. That's what I was trying to say before. Is like that is their. I guess it's not neutral. You're right. It would be neutral, but it's their baseline. So whatever your headphone that you listen to on a regular basis in your head,
right? But I just tend to think there's a certain kind of psychology that goes into it, where like certain people, you'd have to like assume that they don't have a idea of what neutral is in order for that to work, and then it would line up perfectly. But I think in many cases, especially among people who are already familiar with some sort of target curve, if you ask them, does this sound neutral? That
see, answer is, I think I'm in line with it. What Ant just said too. He's like, people coming from a consumer store, exactly. They think V-shape is new, and that's what I was saying too. Is like that's what they're used to, so that's what they would think is neutral. Yeah, and then,
well, I think it depends. That's what I'm saying. I think it depends who you ask, right? Yeah. Like it depends on if you're talking to somebody who has a sense of basically this whole conversation, they might prefer something that they also agree that is not neutral.
Oh, I got what you're saying. So like they're saying like they like something that's they think.
Because okay, I'll try and reframe this question a little bit, or this topic, because here's what I'm thinking. There's and I mentioned this in one of our chats before, but like there's a fact about what our brains expect to hear that's optimal, right? Yes. There's a fact to what that
each person
definitive has each person has it, and that doesn't necessarily line up with what they'll prefer to listen to.
Yes, okay, I see
now. I think in most cases it probably does, even if they don't know it. And we can be wrong about this.
But even then, they think that. But I see what you're saying though, because even then, they might still prefer something that they don't realize is their.
Exactly. They might prefer something they don't realize isn't optimal for their own HRTF, their own what their brain expects to hear, and all this stuff. So, and that to me makes it so that there is
people that listen with their eyes and not their ears.
Well, but even then, if they're listening with their ears,
sorry, that was a low blow. I'm sorry.
But so like with all that stuff, it's like even if in most cases it lines up with what they end up, it ends up being optimal. I think there's enough examples of people, because I see it all the time. Like in again, I haven't done a study, but maybe this would be an interesting study to conduct. But I see it all the time in the comments where people are specifically like, I want something that's not neutral. I don't like neutral because it sounds boring. I want something that, and so that means, obviously there's a bit of a misconception about like what is neutral, because it doesn't really exist. But people have that sort of like, I want something that is more, you know, like
what's a preference
flavor
curve we're talking about? You're saying
right,
like,
right, and so that to me indicates that they're not actually preferring something that they think is neutral, right? Because they have an expectation that neutral is boring.
Yeah.
So this to me means that there's a wrench thrown in this experiment that gets done for preference curves that really depends and is anchored to people's psychology and what they know. Yeah, what they know about.
Too, and what they know. Yeah, like it's all about that, because that will change drastically. Like you could have they do these things every once in a while. Like you're seeing the ones where they talk about like the twins that are like identical twins, but then they were raised in different households.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The stuff like it goes into that kind of stuff, right?
Totally. Like you'd have to assume that people have no sense of any of this, and then the preference curve I think would line up exactly with what. Yeah, then you could make that. You could make that claim
for 20 years, and then all of a sudden they can hear again.
Yeah. If you have no sense of you know, V-shaped or neutral or any of the rest of this stuff, then I'm sure that you know, the preference curve is something that you'd be able to refer to as.
Well, I could take my wife for
neutral.
Instance, like because you could rat's ass about that stuff, but
yeah,
you'd have to take non-audiophiles that don't even know anything, or non-music based people, right? That just listen to listen.
Yeah. I see some comments on this subject as well. Like this is something where like I almost want to do like a big long research article on it, do a deep dive, because and this is why I've started digging into some of the AES stuff, the Audio Engineering Society papers, just to like be able to get all of that information. But I really like it's fascinating to me. It would be fascinating to me, you know, the reasons why people said what you know, what it was that they preferred.
If you get them to answer honestly.
If exactly, how do you know? And people, that's the thing, is like I think we're so easy. Like it's so easy for us to be wrong, even to ourselves, like to mislead ourselves, right?
Oh yeah.
Like yeah.
Especially with a new, like, well, they call it new toy syndrome, or you have like the new experience. You can call it new experience.
Purchase justification. Yeah, like all this stuff. Yeah. So
yeah, it's crazy.
It's yeah. Let's see. I want to see some of the comments on the subject, because this is something I'm just really interested in general. I know that it is not to be stated in one sentence, but what's the neutral that you guys have in your mind here? So the reason why this came up in the last live stream that we did with Mad Economist and Kryn, and this is another one that we need to have another conversation about this.
Just specifically,
because so right now the most common standard reference curve, and this one I use as well, is the Harmon target, but that's technically a preference curve. And when we say that, like there's a bit of resistance that I see to this target curve, because it is a preference curve. So it's based on what people prefer, what people wanted to hear, right? And it's not necessarily based on what the, you know, actual gain factors are for the ear. Whereas those types of curves are, you know, the diffuse field curves, or some of these older, you know, target curves. And I think in general, I mean, it's the foundational research that's done for the Harmon target and the various different Harmon targets is better and more like, we might as well anchor to that. I think it's better to anchor it to that methodology.
It's closer to reality, or supposed reality.
And it's kind of neutral because it's an average, but it's not, let's say,
still outliers. There's still, I mean, it's a huge, when you look at averages, they're always, it's a big swath, not like a
exactly
line.
And like to me, it does sound neutral. Like to me, it's like pretty darn close to neutral. I don't have any issues with the Harmon target, but there are a lot of people, I see it all the time in the videos, right? Or
I guess that'd be like my unoffensive, right? Like that's whenever I say
it's a very safe, inoffensive.
That's neutral to me. So like I would say the Andromeda 2020s, even though I'd say they're the closest to like a safe neutral to me.
Can't wait for the Resolve Research target preference curve. It wouldn't be a preference curve though; it would be anatomically correct. Neutral, anatomic neutral. No, it wouldn't be. I'm kidding. Are we talking about 2013 or 2017 or 2017, 2018? No, I'm just talking about them in general. Like they are different slightly, but they're not in principle that different, because they're both based on preference. And like also like, if you look at more of the research, there's like different demographics had different results. So it depends on what you would. Yeah, it depends, you know, what you would pick.
And that ties into the experience factor, right? For a preference curve, and like and what people are growing up with today. versus what people grew up when the first test was going being experiment. You know, like that
here's a comment that's exactly along this line. Definitely preference curve 2018 is way too basy in my opinion. So like, of course it's a preference curve, right? That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
But you know, just because it's too basy for you, for most people, they ended up saying they preferred that.
Specifically, most people in that study.
But most people, and also like for the younger, like if you skew the demographic down,
that's what I was getting
at. And older people would prefer it to be. Also, if I remember correctly, it was that women preferred they preferred it to be not as bass elevated. Which is counterintuitive to me because technically women have better hearing at higher frequencies. So that to me was
it kind of makes sense. So they
but you think they'd be more sensitive to brighter tunings if they could hear
that's right.
those frequencies. But I don't know. Like it's just that's interesting that it ended up like that. But yeah, I think it's worth I don't want to say poking holes because like to me they ended up with the right target curve. That's just because I'm just one person, right? But it's worth sort of like diving into the almost like diving into the methodology for how these questions are asked, you know, and if there would be a difference, like I'd almost want them to conduct another study and instead of asking them what they preferred, ask them what they thought was neutral. And if they came to a different result, I think that would be really interesting. Because I mean, right now we're just dealing with what people preferred, and that ends up being great.
You could say like you could have like because in the test, one of them right for the headphones ones, they had like a wall of headphones, right, and they let them each listen to each of the different headphones. Maybe have that, and then they would pick the headphone that they said was neutral.
Well, yeah. Have them say instead of which one they preferred, because
not preferred, but which one's neutral? Like have a slew of headphones, have everyone, and then they have to pick the one they thought was the most neutral. That would be interesting.
I should ping Sean Olive on this and get him to for the next one. Get him to run another panel and get him to ask that question.
That would be interesting.
But you know, Matt Economist was saying in the last live stream that we did that like you know over a long period of time people have. I see Kryn in the chat as well. He's saying over a long period of time in the history of this, people's preferences generally also aligned with what they thought was neutral, which I thought was interesting. I haven't seen that in the Harmon research. But Kryn says, according to Harmon research, there's a very wide variance in the selected emphasis of bass frequencies amongst respondents, variances that are far beyond the scope of individual HRTF. Yeah, and that's another reason why I think this would be an interesting, like, simultaneous study to do. By that definition, Harmon target is definitively a preference curve. Absolutely, yeah. Though not an ironclad preference target, since there are differences between respondents in the Harmon research. So each individual person would also vary in bass preference. Yeah. I've said this so many times, but it reminds me of the. Sorry, we're dominating the conversation in precogs here as well.
No, don't worry about it.
But it reminds me of that Malcolm Gladwell commentary on that experiment that was done with the spaghetti sauces. Somebody in the chat actually, it was actually one of the viewers who was in the chat who put me onto this idea. But the idea was that rather than aiming for one specific flavor, in reality, what you needed to just analyze the data and see what emerged for the different preferences that were there. What were the clusters, right?
Yeah.
And in a way, Harmon's kind of like that because there are different demographics, and so for the respondents and whatnot. And actually, I think there were some respondents who didn't actually want as much ear-related gain, as the one that
the outliers that kind of would.
Yeah, but even within the outlier, even with it was just the various different groupings. So to me that stuff is interesting, and in a way, I think that's the better methodology than saying we need one specific target curve. The problem, I think, it ends up being that when we're using the Harmon curve as a reference, we're just using that one target curve, when in reality we should probably be saying, okay, here's the target curve for preference, here's the preference curve for people who are under whatever the lower younger demographic was, and then here's the preference curve for the the older demographic, and then whatever all the different results were. But we only ever, that's just it's too cumbersome to read that way, so we only ever just end up with one, and I think that's probably wrong. The Harmon target had so I'm just reading Android's comment here. The Harmon target had a plus or minus 3.5 dB-ish across frequency response, and most in the bass and treble. Yeah, I mean that makes a certain amount of sense, because we all have ears, right? Any thoughts about the ATH Oct AWKT? I thought he was saying awkward before. Close back. I do not have thoughts on them, but they do look nice. Those are my thoughts. Listening pretty hard on my Oppo Sonic THX79. Hi from Ananda. Thanks for the good.
Yeah, that's a very interesting combo, my man.
I mean,
it's bright. That'd be a bright.
The Hi from Ananda has the best frequency response. Changed my mind. It does. I love it. It's great.
It's fair.
Kryn will back me up on this.
It just has that wonky sharpness to it that I don't like. For me personally, it has this weird. I call it sharpness, but it's like that.
No, I do actually get what you mean. It's
like the instruments are so separated so sharply, and like everything's so like.
This is the planar sound. I know what you mean. Yeah. Sorry, we've been back to Theo here. We've been I've been on my soapbox, standing on it, yelling about reference curves. I need to have Matt Economist on again. We need to go into that again, and because to me it's like such an interesting subject. But in any case,
we are pushing into the
we're definitely in the 2-hour range here, so we should probably end the stream now that Kryn's here and
okay. Sorry,
but any final thoughts? Let's go with Theo.
Sorry, on what?
Just on final thoughts on IEMs. If you were to have final thoughts on IEMs, just anything in general.
Not really. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say here.
That's okay. That's okay.
Time.
Just like putting you on the spot right away.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Well, I was thinking we gotta at some point get him to try some more over-ear headphones.
Yeah.
And,
I definitely like that to sort of branch out a little bit, because I feel like when I try headphones, actually, like I'm not as good at assessing what I'm hearing, just because I don't have as many points of reference, and it takes me a lot longer to kind of tell what's going on.
IEMs.
we should figure out like we should get you to try some closeback stuff, because to make it for the environment. So, okay, Tyler, final thoughts. Kryn endorses Nighthawk's S rank confirmed.
I think we'll have. I think this is an interesting topic. I think we have some really cool things that are coming down the pipe with the topics that are coming. I think
there's some stuff we can't talk about yet.
Stuff. But... Yeah, like I love the psychology stuff too. Like that's something I enjoy. Less in the technical psychology, more in like the broader.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Sense of it, like in the more personal things, But I think this is a interesting topic, and at the end of the day, I think listen for yourself and don't let anyone else tell you what to listen with, or
don't let anybody tell you that what you like is bad.
That's your preference, man. The whole preference curve, all that jam, like love what you love, and who cares what anybody else thinks at the end of the day.
That's the thing, is like we're in the business of like trying to give recommendations, but this is all anchored to the way that we experience this stuff and what we like. And like, if you have different preferences, like then that's fine.
Totally. And it's still, exactly. 100% agree with that. I think it's just that. I mean, you look at even like Resolve and I are a good example of not like it's that whole same coin, different side kind of thing, right?
Yeah. we both like our music to sound good.
Yeah.
Right. And we're both into the stuff, but we had very different preferences as far as like,
Exactly. Right. So it's just, and you just have to be able to accept that.
Although it is funny, we do have very similar preferences in some ways, because we both love ZMF.
This is true.
And we both love Focal.
It's true. It's very true.
There's definitely an alignment.
I don't dislike planars, like, mind you. My preference aligns more with dynamics. I think you actually made a good comment about that actually recently. And I would think
Chrono's back for final thoughts.
Oh, perfect. Oh, is he? Let's jump him in. So like, real quick, this is actually a good thing. Real quick, I wanted to jump on. And Chrono, hey buddy. Real quick, like you made a comment a while back about people's preferences Andrew, about growing up with speakers
Mm-hmm.
and how that would flavor someone's
Oh, yeah.
preference for headphones or dynamic versus a planar.
Oh, just
Like,
we've heard
that's
most
your-
of
it's that
most of the music that you
normalization.
hear, is all done through dynamic drivers.
That's-
Chrono can speak to this as well.
Mhm.
I have returned them to tag along.
We're just doing final thoughts.
Final thoughts, yeah.
So we have another half an hour left, but no, just
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, dude, the preference curve one is weird. That's one that I'm like, for me, it's sorry to go back to that one, but it's like, is it neutral? For me, it's like, what is neutral? Like,
What is
if it
neutral,
sounds
yeah.
natural, I think I'm gonna call it neutral, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So for me, the Harmon-esque stuff, so which something similar to it, sounds somewhat neutral or natural, which is what I would describe it.
Neutral now.
But then I also find it weird where there's like this duality of sorts where people say, well, I don't like the Harmon target, but I really like the HD650. I'm like, well, they're extremely similar.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to some people, the reason why there's some kind of defense against this, because people don't like being told that they're the average.
Yeah.
And that's
completely
why
That's
I think that
psychology behind it, yeah.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of psychology in this hobby that we tend to ignore, and I think it's that's why I feel like that's just weird. But I think that would be interesting. The neutral versus
just a different
versus preference.
Yeah. It's funny because in the big long article that I wrote about, like how to read frequency response and measurements and stuff like that, I mentioned exactly that, where like I think it's important to resist the notion of like it's a preference curve and what most people prefer is garbage, so it's going to not be good. Like I think that's not true. Like like actually turns out like most people what they prefer, it's
similar,
pretty good.
Most people are similar in their preference.
Yeah, there's more agreement than I think there's disagreement. So with all that stuff, but the reason why I even brought that up in the first place was because if you look at like what a lot of really large companies are doing, like for example Sony, they're doing stuff that elevates the bass like crazy. And the thing is, you have to assume that they're doing their own market research, because effectively Harmon is market research, right? For AKG, but Samsung now. And like what Sony's doing with their stuff and what Bose and Beats and all, they're doing market research in a way as well. And so to me, it makes me think like, okay, what's their market research indicating to them? Maybe it's not as scientifically done as Sean Olive's stuff, but like their market research is at least indicating that people prefer more bass than is optimal for human hearing, for what the brain expects to hear.
Sujan just nailed what I was about to say. Like, why can't we just take all of the FR and average out all of those, and you get an averaged FR from all the different frequency response measured from, like, let's say you and Kren, and then what's that look like? And then is that hard?
Eventually, everything just looks like a flat.
It's all just a big rainbow.
No, I think probably it would end up being close to Harmon. Like that. So that's the thing. Is like at the end of the day, we'd probably all end up at some version of Harmon. I think that the contentious issue is the bass level more than anything else, right? And this is why Kren has the
I was
900 hertz neutral target.
You guys were talking about the bass last week, right? Or actually, was it how like the curve is like how you expect, like would it expect speakers to sound? So like the curve is somewhat emulating speakers. So I kind of understand the bass shelf there if you think about the way bass would reverberate and resonate in a room. So you would expect that bass shelf.
Yes, absolutely. And if you hear it live as well.
Yeah.
Right, because there's a room there. But see, the thing is, the only constant when you're dealing with headphones because the brain will expect to hear different things for frequencies below 900 hertz, depending on the environment that you're in, because that will have dramatic impact on what sounds natural for those frequencies, right? So if you're in a room that's going to enhance the bass, that can change as soon as you walk out of that room. Right. So the only constant that we have for the various different gain factors that our brain expects to hear, it's the ears. That's it for headphones. And that is why Kren's 900 hertz neutral target, I called it that, but the IEF target makes a lot of sense to me, because it took all the preference based gain factors of the Harmon 2018 and just ignored everything else, because those are the only ones that are correlated with the constant of what the brain expects to hear. Because it'll change depending on the environment or distance, and at least if you're talking about speakers and stuff like that. So really, I think his 900 hertz flat down all the way down makes a certain amount of sense.
I think it does too. I mean, I still think the Harmon bass shelf as it is right now, it's too exaggerated. Maybe like 3-4 dB.
Almost everybody I've talked to thinks that as well.
Ant just said that too recently.
Yeah, and the upper mid range, at least for me, is a little on the
it's a little
lowness.
Yeah. But that's what most people prefer. So I mean, this is why I think it's important to consider that question, and how, if you ask people what do you prefer or what sounds best to you, is that necessarily what they think is what sounds neutral? I don't know. Like, we got to deal with all the psychology that's going on with preconceived notions of what neutral is, because I don't think that's,
Somebody also mentioned right now, Traffic Light mentioned the what headphones you're used to. Yeah. I'm like, that makes sense, but I find myself maybe it's because I'm in a position where maybe you guys can relate to this too, where you swap headphones a lot. I feel like my brain normalizes way faster than I would expect it to. Like,
definitely.
Odd sounding headphones start sounding so normal so quickly. Yeah. Like the 820 after EQ started sounding like the most normal thing ever to me instantly. Like almost instantly. Yep. By the end of the song, I was like, oh, this is the best sounding thing
audio
ever.
Memory is so like it's not. It's
so I don't know if like the long-term exposures ends up actually being that. I don't know.
You have to at least ensure that in the test you're listening for a long enough period of time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that makes it worse.
Yeah,
essentially.
Fair. Here's a good question.
Because then there's too much normalization.
There's too much normalization. Exactly. Yeah.
So I like this question actually, because it's something actually to be taken into account for a lot of reviewers and that kind of stuff when people are listening and stuff. Because a lot of people confuse loudness with better a lot of times.
Especially in the consumer-oriented stuff.
And so, me personally, I as soon as I get into like the 80 decibel range, I have to scale back because I don't like it.
84 is like you shouldn't be going too much.
So I tend to listen at like 75 to 80 with peaks into the 80s. If that makes sense. That's like my general, even sometimes depending on what chain I'm using, but usually it's somewhere between, it's in the 70 to 80. 70 to 75 is my preference, with peaks that jump into the high 70s, low 80s. But
guys, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I was joking about us having another half an hour because of final thoughts. So that's just going to be the new meme going forward.
We do have to.
We do tend to rail off pretty hard at the end.
But it's good. I love this kind of stuff. This is like,
We'll have to do one of these.
Sorry that I joined again without warning. Just chipped in here.
You're good, man.
That's good. Anyways, so that's going to conclude the stream for today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. And thanks to everybody for joining. Big thanks to Theo, and of course a welcome to the review team. And we'll be having Theo on again in the future.